Chapter 241. People tend to do impulsive things when they are emotionally unstable. After doing these impulsive things and calming down, it is often easy to regret it. For example, Wang Jianya now. What he did on Nanshan Hill was completely a rush of anger to his head, and he lost his mind. The cause was the problem of the land. The public notice had been posted. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He felt that Wang Jianli was not a good person. He had promised before, but he had closed the border. He felt that the nearby villagers looked at him strangely, as if they were laughing at him. This made him, who had always been strong, very annoyed. In addition, his wife said some harsh words, so he directly slapped her. He did not expect that his wife, who usually did not dare to fart, would quarrel with him. She cried and scolded him for being incompetent. In a fit of anger, she went straight back to her parents' home. This made him even angrier. Wang Yao, you want to rob me of land? I will burn your Nanshan Hill. He directly filled a bottle of gasoline and took a lighter to the hill. Coincidentally, Wang Yao was not on the hill at that time, but the dog and the eagle made him suffer. He began to regret it when he was bandaged in the hospital. He did not know whether the fire burned or not, but he was injured. A large piece of flesh was torn off his wrist and thigh. There were 4 big bloody holes in his shoulder, and his bones were injured. There was a hole in his head, and he lost a lot of blood. The doctor said that if he had come a little later, his life might have been in danger. In order to vent his anger, he almost lost his life. If the fire had really been reduced, he would have added another crime, arson, which could be sentenced to prison. So he regretted it and was afraid. After all, he was just an ordinary person, not the kind of villain or ruthless person who killed and set fire without blinking. But there was no medicine for regret in the world. On Nanshan Hill, Wang Yao applied the ointment on San Xian's wound. After applying the ointment, San Xian quietly lay in his kennel. He looked a little dispirited. He was no longer as ferocious as before. He had been injured by a knife and had lost a lot of blood. Well done, San Xian. Wang Yao gently stroked the dog's head. Have a good rest. I'll make you something delicious later. He got up and went to the outskirts of the herb field. A large piece of land in front of him was already charred black. The area was not small. Surrounding the herb field, this side was lush green, while the other side was burnt bald. He still had some lingering fear. If the fire had really been extinguished, then this medicinal field and this forest would have been finished. Fortunately, this formation was truly miraculous. Not only could it create illusions and gather spiritual energy, it also had a certain defensive function. Wang Jianya. Wang Yao's eyes were cold. This was the first time he had suffered such a major violation since he started planting herbs on Nanshan Hill. It was no different from setting fire to his house. Are you all right? His parents had also rushed over. When they saw the charred area outside, their hearts skipped a beat. It's fine. Wang Yao smiled. How could she let her parents worry about her? Let's go down the mountain, Wang Yao said after staying on the mountain for a while to make sure that there was no open flame and that it would not reignite. San Xian still wanted to get up, but Wang Yao stopped him with a gesture. Recuperate well there. Xia, take care of him. Caw. There was a cry. On the treetops, Xia stood there like a loyal guard. After going down the mountain, Wang Yao had a quick meal. Then he went out to buy some beef and chicken. He put some at home and left the rest at home. There was an iron pot on the mountain. It was best to cook meat in a big pot. The water was mountain spring water mixed with some ancient spring water. After washing the meat, he threw it directly into the pot. He also threw a few pieces of beef bones into the pot. He added a few Chinese herbs and filled it with firewood. After burning it vigorously, the fragrance of the meat floated out after a while. In the brigade house of the mountain village, several village committee members gathered together and smoked silently. Their faces were gloomy. There was no wall in the world that did not have a crack. The mountain village was so big. Since such a big incident had happened, several of them received the news in a relatively short time. Then, Wang Jianli anxiously called a few people to discuss the matter. This was a vicious incident. It needed to be reported to the higher-up. Motherf *Ker, is Wang Jianya crazy? Fortunately, the mountain fire did not start and no one was hurt. Where is Wang Jianya? He is still in the hospital. He was seriously injured and almost lost his life. He deserved it. Wang Jiangang angrily threw the cigarette, but in his hand, on the ground. Isn't it just a piece of land? Is it necessary? Setting a fire in broad daylight. If he is not a fool, he is crazy. Well, don't say these words out of anger. Think about how to report this incident to the town. Wang Jianli stopped useless complaints. If this incident happened to someone else, it would be better. However, it happened to Wang Yao, who did not know that he and the mayor's son were as close as brothers. Even if Wang Yao relented, the mayor would not be kind. The key point was that there was a bigger Buddha behind Wang Yao now. I think we have to ask Wang Yao's opinion on this matter, the village director said. Well, if he relents, it will be easier to handle. The local people were from the same village. Although these people were angry, they did not want to do things too harshly. After all, they would still have to meet in the future. If they were really sent to prison for a few years, half of the person's life would be basically ruined. Jiangang, go and ask him? Okay. On the mountain, the cold wind was blowing. Wang Yao sat outside the house. There was a small wooden table in front of him. On the table was a plate of beef. There was some smoke. He was holding a cup of tea in his hand. San Xian was lying beside him. In front of him was a rice bowl full of beef and soup. The aroma assailed his nose. How is the taste? San Xian was eating heartily. He did not even raise his head. Ha ha. Wang Yao smiled. Woof, woof. San Xian raised his head and barked twice. Someone is here? Wang Mingbao stood outside and looked at the charred area. His face was gloomy. It smells so good. What is delicious? Wang Mingbao came in and asked. Beef. Try it. Wang Yao pointed at the meat on the plate. Wang Mingbao walked to the front, tore a large piece, dipped it in salt, and stuffed it into his mouth. Well, it smells good. His eyes lit up. The beef was indeed delicious. I added some special herbs in it. How do you want to deal with Wang Jianya? Wang Mingbao wiped his hands and asked. In his impression, such a vicious incident had not happened in the village in the past 10 years. Appropriately, be gentle. Gentle? Why? Wang Mingbao was stunned. He had taken a fancy to that piece of land earlier. He was unwilling to give up. I can understand that. However, he must be punished for arson. It was pardonable, but unforgivable. You are too soft-hearted, Wang Mingbao said. This matter was a fair competition. If he lost, he could not blame others for his lack of ability. Arson and injury, what kind of ability is that? Woof, woof. San Xian barked again. Someone is coming. A strong man in his 40s came to the outside of the herbal field. This was the first time in a long time that Wang Jiangang had come to the herbal field at such a close distance. In the past, he only looked at it from afar. What is this? He suddenly felt his vision blur. The trees seemed to be swaying back and forth, crossing each other and dancing. What's going on? He shook his head hard and focused his eyes. It did not matter when he looked, but the trees shook even more violently. This is strange. He was inexplicably panicked. Uncle, what are you looking at? A voice came from inside. Oh, Mingbao is also here. Seeing that Mingbao was also there, Wang Jiangang knew that the matter would not be settled peacefully. Uncle, please have a seat. Wang Yao went into the room and handed him a teacup. How is it? Is your herbal field okay? It's fine. It almost recovered, Wang Yao replied with a smile. That's good. Wang Jiangang reached out to take out a cigarette. When he was about to light it, he suddenly realized something and put it back. Smoke. No. Wang Jiangang waved his hand. Basically, the matter has been clarified. Wang Jianya was blinded by anger and acted impulsively. However, he must be punished. The village committee asked me to come over. They said they want to hear your opinion, Wang Jiangang said. Since it has been done, it must be dealt with. Considering that we are from the same village and no one was injured, please be gentle. Okay, Wang Jiangang said. What he wanted, or rather, what the village committee members wanted, was this result. I will go back and talk to the secretary. This matter has to be reported to the higher-ups. Okay. Uncle, take care. Okay. The two of them saw Wang Jiangang off. Are we just going to let it go? Wang Mingbao asked. Chapter 242. Let the law punish him, Wang Yao said. It was his principle to leave a way out, but it didn't mean that he was a bodhisattva. Those who did evil had to be punished, regardless of whether they were impulsive or had planned for a long time. But after all, they were from the same village. Wang Yao also listened to his parents' advice. At this time, Wang Jianya, who was in the hospital, was dumbfounded. He had received a call from his relative. What he had done could be classified as arson. He could be sentenced to 3 to 10 years of detention. This was a prison sentence. He was so scared that he even forgot the pain in his body. He hurriedly found someone to help him hire a lawyer. After the lawyer came, he carefully asked about the situation. His face was very serious. Your situation is very special. It depends on the attitude of the other party. If it is a general fire prevention act, you can be sentenced to ordinary detention. The length of time varies. Generally, it will be 1 year. But if it is arson, it will be at least 3 years. And your behavior can basically be defined as arson. Listening to the lawyer's words, Wang Jianya's face turned pale. He was scared. Don't scare me. I'm not scaring you. I'm just explaining from a legal point of view. Of course, I will try to reduce the court's sentence. But to be honest, your situation is not optimistic. After hearing this, Wang Jianya immediately called his relatives at home and asked them to help him find a way. Of course, the lawyer's remuneration was not small. Wang Yao didn't need to call the police. The village had already reported this matter to the town. They didn't dare to hide such a thing. It was a mountain fire. Soon, the public security officers went to the hospital and interrogated Wang Jianya, who was still receiving treatment. Because of the special situation, his arrest would be postponed. It would be carried out when his physical condition allowed. At night, there was one more person in Wang Yao's house. It was a crying middle-aged woman. She was Wang Jianya's wife. Although she was also very angry, life had to go on. Especially when she heard that her husband might be sentenced to at least 3 years in prison, she was dumbfounded. Without a man in the family, it was as if the sky had collapsed. Her son was still in college and needed money. She listened to the lawyer's call and specially ran to Wang Yao's house to plead for mercy. Brother, sister-in-law, Wang Jianya is not a good person. He shouldn't have done that. But he was just blinded by anger. Please persuade Yao to let him go. Xiaohe is still studying outside. Facing this sobbing woman in front of him, who was also from the same village, he often saw her. Their hearts softened. We will persuade Yao. You can take the things back. Thank you. Wang Jianya's wife left with gratitude. Ai. Zhang Xiuying sighed. In the evening, when Wang Yao came back home, his mother stopped him and tried to persuade him in a gentle way. Mom, I know what I'm doing. 3 years was neither short nor long, but 3 years in prison was definitely enough to make a person fall from heaven to the ground and never go back. Requite evil with good. Wang Yao smiled and then made a phone call. He no longer cared about the final sentence. The small mountain village was lively because of this matter for a few days. Almost every family was talking about it. Wang Jianli was very angry. He received a call from the town. The town government office, the mayor, and even the secretary called. They said that the leaders in the county were involved in this matter. Isn't it just setting a fire? It hasn't started yet. Why do the leaders in the county care about it? This matter reminded him of the scene he saw in the town government office. Don't tell me that person also cares about it? For this reason, he organized the village committee to hold a meeting and put up notices in the village, emphasizing the importance of safety, civilization, and fire prevention. The village also strengthened the patrol. Mom, Dad, I want to ask the people who helped to put out the fire on the mountain tomorrow. At dinner in the evening, Wang Yao discussed with his parents. If they could help at such a critical time, he would thank them anyway. He didn't want to trouble his mother, but the nearest restaurant was at the foot of the village. It was at least 3 miles away from their village. It was not convenient to treat there. Okay, Zhang Xiuying said. It's my pleasure. I'll go shopping tomorrow. In the evening, Wang Yao sat alone outside the cottage, quietly looking at the sky. The dog was lying in the kennel. Its injuries had not healed. He was thinking about what happened during the day. He was at home now. If he was not at home and his family was not on the mountain, then once the fire started and the array formation on the mountain could not completely stop it, wouldn't all his hard work during this period of time be in vain? That night, he thought about a lot of things before he went to sleep. The next morning, he got up very early. When he was practicing boxing on the top of the mountain, the speed of his punches was fast and fierce. After a round of punches, the breath around his body flowed endlessly, but his mood was much calmer. In the morning, he went down the mountain to town to buy some things, such as beef, mutton, various vegetables, and cooked food, to prepare for the dinner in the evening. There were good wines in the restaurant. They were all brought by Tian Yuan-tu and He Qixing when they came. When Wang Yao went home with a truck full of things, Zhang Xiuying said, "You don't have to buy so many things. I bought more. We usually eat more cooked food. It saves us the trouble of cooking." After lunch, he first went to the villagers who had gone up the mountain to help yesterday. He invited them to their homes for dinner. This was how it was in the village. It was best to inform people in advance when inviting them to dinner. Even though mobile phones were used now, many people still liked to go to their homes to inform them in person. This showed more respect. After greeting them one by one, Wang Yao helped his mother at home in the afternoon. "You go up the mountain. I can cook these things myself," Zhang Xiuying said. It was not the first time that she invited people to dinner. Most of the dishes were already prepared. She could cook them alone. Wang Yao was not in a hurry to go up the mountain. Instead, he helped at home for a while and then took 2 big bags of Chinese medicine to Nanshan Hill. After going up the mountain for several times, Wang Yao had sold more of the Chinese medicine herbs brought by Chen Buiyuan through the system. He also got some exchange points. However, he was not in a hurry to exchange for everlasting grass and lingshanji, which were used to decoct the muscle revitalization powder. Instead, he spent a lot of exchange points to exchange for the seeds of the 2 licorice roots and planted them in the herbal field. Buying was not a long-term solution. Being self-sufficient was a long-term solution. In the afternoon, Zhang Xiuying was still busy at home. An unexpected figure came to the yard. "Hello, Auntie. Tong Wei, why are you here?" Zhang Xiuying was surprised to see Tong Wei. "Come in and sit down." She stopped what she was doing and pulled her daughter-in-law into the house. "Sit down." She poured some water for Tong Wei. "Have you told Wang Yao?" "Not yet," Tong Wei said with a smile. "I'll call him." "It's okay. I'll go to Nanshan Street," Tong Wei said with a smile. "You're alone?" "Yes. It's a surprise for him." "Okay. Why don't you stay for dinner tonight?" "Okay." Tong Wei went up Nanshan Hill alone. Such a beautiful person naturally attracted people's attention wherever she went. It had been a long time since such a beautiful girl appeared in this small mountain village. Tsk. So beautiful. Whose daughter is she? Fenghua's daughter-in-law. Really? When did you get married? Tong Wei went up the mountain with a smile. Before she reached the top of the mountain, she heard dogs barking. Then, she saw a figure standing outside the house. Tong Wei. Wang Yao was surprised. Why are you here? I miss you. Tong Wei's words surprised Wang Yao. He felt sweet in his heart. What's wrong with this burnt area? Is it on fire? Tong Wei pointed to the area outside the herbal field that was burned by the mountain fire yesterday. Yes. Fortunately, the fire was put out in time. Are you hurt? Tong Wei hurriedly asked. I'm fine. I wasn't on the mountain at that time. The herbal field is fine. Come in and sit. Wang Yao invited Tong Wei in. San Xian wagged his tail and sniffed Tong Wei. You know her, right? San Xian. Woof. After a night of recovery, San Xian seemed to be much better. His eyes were brighter. De Xia went out. Oh, there's a new friend here. New friend? Tong Wei was surprised. Chapter 243. Yes, I call it Xiaohei, but I can't see it now. I don't think you'll like it, Wang Yao said with a smile. What is it? A snake, Wang Yao said. He was talking about the slender snake that he had saved before. It was now a member of the medicinal field, but it rarely appeared on normal days. Snake? Tong Wei was shocked. Isn't there De Xia here? How could there be a snake? Eagles and snakes were natural enemies. How could two opposing existences coexist harmoniously? Haha, De Xia is psychic. It can understand when I talk to it, Wang Yao said with a smile. The two of them sat outside the hut and chatted. The mountain breeze felt very comfortable on their bodies. Sitting on the mountain, Tong Wei felt that she had calmed down. The noisy and annoying things were temporarily far away. Phew, so comfortable. Have some tea. Thank you. The sun was setting in the west. Let's go home. There are guests at home later. Guests? Yes, there was a fire on the hill yesterday. Someone helped to put it out. I'll treat them tonight to thank them. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Tong Wei asked. If she had known about this, she would not have come up. Instead, she would have stayed at home to help Wang Yao's mother prepare dinner. It's okay. It's not too late. The two of them went down the hill hand in hand. Slow down. On the way, they met several elders who had come down from the hill. Wang Yao greeted them with a smile. Tong Wei also greeted them. They all responded happily. Yao's girlfriend is so beautiful. Yes, I don't know how long it has been since the village had such a beautiful wife. I don't think so. How could a beautiful wife marry into a ravine like this? Wang Yao stopped when he reached a courtyard with a few big tile-roofed houses at the south of the village. I bought this place. He pointed to the small courtyard that was overgrown with weeds. You bought it? What are you going to do? Tong Wei was stunned. Build a few houses and open a clinic, Wang Yao said with a smile. That was what he wanted to do. Open a clinic in this mountain village? Tong Wei was puzzled. Will people come? I will, Wang Yao said with a smile. As long as his medical center was open, there would definitely be people coming. Moreover, there would be people who would travel thousands of miles to come. He was confident about this. I support you. Tong Wei smiled, as beautiful as a flower. Let's go home. When they returned home, Wang Yao's parents were busy preparing for the evening. Uncle, take a rest. Let me do it. Tong Wei hurried forward. You don't have to. Come in quickly. We just bought a big cherry. Wang Yao, bring Tong Wei into the house, Zhang Xiuying said hurriedly. Although she said so, Tong Wei still stayed in the kitchen to help. After a while, Zhang Xiuying found another characteristic of her future daughter-in-law. She was skillful with her hands. That's right, she was clever with her hands. She did things very quickly and her cooking skills were not bad. Well, not bad. The more she looked at it, the more she liked it. How long will Tong Wei be on holiday this time? 5 days. Originally, the holiday was 3 days. She asked for 2 days off. Wang Yao knew that on one hand, she came back this time because of the holiday. On the other hand, she came back to prepare for going abroad. When the sky was a little dark, guests came. The first one to arrive was Wang Fengming. He not only came in person but also brought something. Look, why did you bring something? Wang Fenghua asked as he invited the guests into the house. Haha, I didn't bring anything, Wang Fengming said with a smile. Uncle. Okay. The guests came in and drank tea in the house. Zhang Xiaoying and Tong Wei were busy in the kitchen. Several other people also arrived one after another. Yao served the dishes. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Wang Fenghua asked Wang Yao to serve the dishes. Okay. The dishes were served one after another. Tong Wei also helped to serve the dishes. Several villagers were slightly surprised when they saw Tong Wei. This daughter-in-law is so beautiful. Fenghua, why did you come to Wang Yao's wedding banquet? Haha, no hurry, Wang Fenghua said with a smile. The dishes were very sumptuous. The wine was also good. It was an aged Jingji wine. Good wine. Most of the men in the village liked to drink a few mouthfuls, but they generally drank local white wine, and generally did not exceed 15 yuan a bottle. This bottle could cost a few hundred yuan. Good wine, people who drank often could taste it. Maotai, Wuliangye, and loose white wine were definitely not the same taste. The banquet didn't end until 8:30 p.m. The villagers' homes were not far from each other. With good wine, it was inevitable that they would drink more. Therefore, the banquet lasted a little longer. After finishing her work, Tong Wei helped Wang Yao's parents to clean the table. Then, she had a simple meal in the kitchen. When she looked again, it was already 9 p.m. Do you want me to send you back or stay here? When Wang Yao said that, Zhang Xiaoying also stopped what she was doing and looked at Wang Yao intentionally or unintentionally. Then, I'll stay here for a night, Tong Wei said after thinking for a moment. Okay, I'll prepare a room for you now, Zhang Xiaoying said with a smile. She seemed to be afraid that the daughter-in-law she liked would go back on her word. Since it was a brand new bedding for her daughter-in-law, she had to use the best. Zhang Xiaoying's face was filled with a happy smile. Tong Wei called home and said that she would not go back that night. Her mother didn't say much. She just told her to be careful. What was there to be careful about? It was very quiet that night. Wang Yao didn't go up the hill that night. On this night, there was no romance, no dry firewood and raging fire. The next morning, Tong Wei woke up very early. She was going to prepare breakfast for Wang Yao's mother. However, when she woke up, she realized that she seemed to have woken up a little too early. Wang Yao's parents hadn't even woken up yet. Why are you up so early? Wang Yao came out of his room and asked with a smile. I wanted to help Auntie prepare breakfast. It's okay. If you didn't sleep well, you can go back to sleep. No, I slept quite well. In fact, she didn't sleep well last night. She decided to spend the night at Wang Yao's house. This was something she didn't think about. Although nothing substantial happened that night, this was Tong Wei's attitude. Alright, do you know Tai Chi? I know a little. Wang Yao smiled and said, Why? Do you want to learn? Yes, can you teach me? No problem. The two young people who woke up very early started to practice Tai Chi in the yard. One learned, the other taught. Wang Yao wasn't a qualified teacher because he didn't have any teaching experience. However, Tong Wei was definitely a qualified student. She was very smart. Basically, she understood everything Wang Yao said. Moreover, she had a foundation in dancing. It was relatively easy for her to learn Tai Chi. What are they doing? In the house, Zhang Xiaoying, who had already woken up, leaned against the window and looked outside. Hey, why are you peeking? If you want to look, look openly. Aren't you peeking too? This is Tai Chi. Wang Yao taught Tong Wei step by step. His parents were bored at home. They didn't want to disturb the young couple's intimacy. After learning for a while, Tong Wei asked curiously, Uncle and Auntie haven't woken up yet? Haha, they should be awake. Shall we go and cook? Okay. Tong Wei's culinary skills were excellent. She was the kind of woman who could cook in the hall and cook in the kitchen. After a short while, she finished preparing breakfast. It smells good. At this time, Wang Yao's parents also came out of the room. Seeing that the food was ready, they hurriedly washed up. The family of 4 gathered together to have a heartwarming breakfast. In the morning, Wang Yao sent Tong Wei back to Lianshan County. She still had some things to do. Wang Yao drove her to some places. They were busy until noon. Come to my house for lunch. My mom has already prepared lunch. Okay. The two of them went to the supermarket again to buy some gift. Then, they went to Tong Wei's house. They looked like a couple. When they arrived at Tong Wei's house, her parents were more satisfied with Wang Yao. There was a sincere smile on their faces. Wang Yao didn't leave until the afternoon to drive home. Drive safe. Okay, I'll send you home tomorrow. Okay, call me when you're home. After a day and a night of contact, the relationship between the two of them seemed to have improved. Chapter 244. In a famous hospital in Dao City, Yi Zichen was in a hospital. Diabetes. How is that possible? Tian Yuantu was stunned after hearing the doctor's words. He had been very thin recently because he had been busy with the company's affairs. His trip to Beijing had been quite smooth, so he could finally relax. However, he felt that there was something wrong with his body, so he went to the hospital in Dao for a checkup after the plane landed. The results surprised him. You are very thin and tired, which is the cause of this disease, the doctor said. This is not a terrible disease. It is very common now. You don't have to feel pressured. As long as you take the medicine in time and pay attention to your diet and living habits, you can control and treat it. Okay, thank you, doctor. Tian Yuantu came out of the hospital in a bad mood. He had been busy for more than a month. The company's affairs had come to an end, but his body had problems again. I'll go back and ask Wang Yao. He should have a good solution. The sun was still bright in the morning. Wang Yao came down from the mountain early and drove to Lianshan County. Tong Wei was going back to Dao that day, so he drove her. Drive safe. Okay. He first went to Lianshan County to pick Tong Wei up and buy some daily necessities with her. Then he went to Tong Wei's home and sat for a while. After chatting with her parents for a while, he took Tong Wei to Dao. It was already afternoon when they arrived in Dao. Let's find a place to eat first. Okay. They found a Western restaurant and ordered some food. While they were eating, Tong Wei's phone suddenly rang. She picked it up and looked at the number. She frowned slightly and hung up. What's wrong? An annoying guy, Tong Wei said. Annoying? Is he chasing you? Wang Yao asked with a smile. Yes, I have already rejected him, but he is still pestering me. Take me to see him next time. Let him give up completely. Okay. After lunch, they went to Tong Wei's residence. Downstairs, Wang Yao saw a man he had met once. He was in a suit and leather shoes, and was holding a large bouquet of red roses. Was this the one who called just now? He pointed at the young man outside the car. Yes, that's him, Tong Wei said. Come, let's have a chat with him. The two of them got out of the car. Tong Wei held onto Wang Yao's arm and leaned against him, looking like a little bird. Hello, young Master Song. Tong Wei? Young Master Song looked at Wang Yao. This is my boyfriend. Hello, I'm Wang Yao. Hey brother, why do I find you so familiar? Have we met somewhere before? Yes, a few days ago, at Tong Wei's company. Ah. This young Master Song suddenly understood. I remember that my waist hurt a lot at that time. Yes, I saw you squatting on the ground while holding your waist. Are you all right? The doctor said there's nothing wrong with it. That's good. Wang Yao smiled. The conversation between these two people was more like friends who had known each other for many years than love rivals. If there's nothing else, I'll go up with Tong Wei first. Wait, brother, what do you do for a living? I'm farming at home. Why? Wang Yao smiled. Farming? Young Master Song was stunned. Yes. All right, Tong Wei, I won't give up. Tong Wei didn't say anything. Instead, it was Wang Yao who said something. I'll invite you to our wedding banquet. After that, they went upstairs intimately. Farming? Farming? This young Master Song paced back and forth downstairs. Country bumpkin, how are you better than me? Wang Yao and Tong Wei couldn't see his anger. Downstairs, a young man in a sports shirt walked past young Master Song, who was talking to himself with his head lowered, looking at his big bouquet of fresh roses. Hey brother! This young Master Song raised his head and called out to the slightly chubby young man. What's the matter? Do you have a girlfriend? Yes. The young man was stunned. This is for you. I wish you happiness. This strange young Master Song gave the bouquet of roses in his hand to a stranger he had just met for the first time. The young man was stunned. Why? You don't like it? Oh, thank you. The young man smiled and took the bouquet of roses. This young Master Song got into a snow-white Porsche sports car, then turned the car around and left. I don't understand the world of the rich. The young man looked at the bouquet of roses in his hand and shook his head. However, this was a good thing for him. His girlfriend would definitely be happy to receive such fresh roses. This was the so-called, to borrow flowers to present Buddha. No, it should be, to borrow flowers to present a beautiful woman. After going upstairs, Tong Wei asked in surprise, You've seen him? Yes, just a few days ago when I came to pick you up in Dao City, he was downstairs. He was holding his waist and looked like he was in pain. Oh, what a coincidence! Tong Wei exclaimed. It is quite a coincidence. In Tong Wei's rented room, the two of them were sitting on the sofa and watching TV. Would you like to stay here tonight? Okay, Wang Yao said with a smile. Accompany me to buy some things later. Okay. After resting for a while, Wang Yao accompanied Tong Wei downstairs. There was a shopping mall not far from the residential area. They bought the ingredients for dinner there. After returning home, Tong Wei began to prepare dinner. Wang Yao wanted to help, but he was pushed out by Tong Wei. What do you like to eat? Tong Wei shouted from the kitchen. Anything is fine. Wang Yao didn't have any favorite food because he was not picky. Tong Wei was busy in the kitchen alone, while Wang Yao was watching TV in the living room. They felt like a real couple. After a while, the aroma of food drifted out from the kitchen. It smells so good. The sky was not completely dark yet, but a sumptuous meal was ready. Would you like to drink some red wine? Sure. Tong Wei opened a bottle of red wine. Although there was no candlelight, it was a warm dinner. The two of them ate very slowly. They talked while eating. The sky outside was getting dark. After dinner, Tong Wei cleaned up the table. Then the two of them watched TV in the living room. It was an urban comedy. The clock on the wall pointed at 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed. Tong Wei got up and said, Okay, good night. Good night. Tong Wei took a shower before going to bed. Listening to the sound of water in the bathroom, Wang Yao could even imagine the seductive scene in the bathroom. He recited a passage of scripture in his mind to calm his surging qi and blood. When Tong Wei came out of the bathroom, she was only wearing a bathrobe. Her face was still a little flushed. She looked like a ripe peach, which was extraordinarily seductive. She looked in the direction of the living room, and then slowly walked into the bedroom. Half of the Jade Mountain was covered in snow. Wang Yao and Yang Jing stared at the TV, but their thoughts drifted far away. After a while, he also entered the other bedroom. A single man and a single woman in the same room. The man was in love, and the woman was in love. That night, the clouds and wind were calm. Wang Yao's boxing skills were about to reach the level of perfection. Even with the strength of 1,000 pounds, he still couldn't push open that door. The final barrier between the two of them was still there. Phew! In the morning, Wang Yao heaved a long sigh of relief. What was going on? If it was in the past, he would have already crossed that door. However, after practicing the scripture, his temperament seemed to have changed. Morning. Tong Wei came out of the bedroom and greeted Wang Yao. She was different from those celebrities on TV who were as beautiful as fairies after makeup and as scary as ghosts after removing makeup. Tong Wei was a natural beauty. Even without makeup, she was still shockingly beautiful. Morning, Wang Yao said with a smile. After waking up, Tong Wei washed up and prepared breakfast. Well, it's quite a good decision to have such a beautiful wife who can take care of the family, Wang Yao thought to himself. There were several great blessings in life. Meet a famous teacher. Choose a suitable profession. Marry a good wife. These few things could even change the trajectory of a person's life. Someone once said that the kind of life partner you chose was the kind of life you chose. Have you decided to go to France? It's settled. The procedures are almost done. Why? Tong Wei asked with a smile. I suddenly feel a little reluctant to let you go, Wang Yao said with a smile. Then I'll tell the company that I'm not going? Tong Wei asked. If you want to go, just go. It's only a month. Okay. Tong Wei's face was full of happiness. Wang Yao left at noon. Before he left, something unexpected happened. Tong Wei actually kissed him. Her red lips quickly kissed his cheek. It was like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. It was cool and soft. When Wang Yao came back to his senses, the beautiful woman with blushing cheeks was already standing beside him. It felt good. Can you do it again? You're so annoying. Drive safe. Call me when you get home. Okay. That feeling was really good. Wang Yao thought about it in the car. This is really a good sign, but I don't know how long it will last. In Jing, in the Su family's house, Chen Lao was invited to check on Su Xiaoshue's condition again. When he removed the gauze, many scabs fell out. A large number of new tissues began to appear under her ulcerated skin. The recovery of her left hand was the most obvious. The ulcerated muscles and flesh on her entire palm were all scabbed and replaced by red and tender new muscle tissue. When will Dr. Wang come? Within a month. Well, the sooner the better. If she can continue to receive the treatment of that magical medicine, Xiaoshue's surface symptoms may be cured, Chen Lao said. I also hope that he can come back as soon as possible, Song Ruiping said as she looked at her daughter lying on the hospital bed. Continue to take the medicine he left. It can strengthen Xiaoshue's body functions. Okay. In the small mountain village of Lianshan, Wang Yao returned home. It was already past 5 p.m. When he got home, he learned from his father that the use of the land in the village he bought had been approved. Chapter 245. In the afternoon, Wang Yao went to the town again. When he arrived, some of the government workers were nowhere to be seen. He waited for a while, but he didn't see anyone when it was almost time to get off work. He happened to meet Wang Mingbao's father. Yao, what's the matter? Uncle, I'm here to do something. Wang Mingbao's father looked into the house and didn't see anyone. He immediately realized that something was wrong. He picked up his phone and made a call. In less than 10 minutes, 2 people rushed in from outside. They were sweating profusely. In addition to them, another man followed them into the office building. Where have you been? Wang Mingbao's father asked with a straight face. I went out for a while. Why are you not at work during office hours? The 2 people were speechless. Deal with this comrade's matter immediately. Yes, yes. The 2 people immediately nodded and responded. I still have something to do. Call me if you need me. Okay, you go ahead, Wang Yao hurriedly said. The 2 people's work efficiency was not ordinary. In less than 5 minutes, they finished the formalities that Wang Yao needed to go through. "I'm sorry. It's okay. Thank you," Wang Yao said. He also knew that although the two people were sorry on the surface, they were probably cursing him to death in their hearts. "Take care." The two people got up and watched Wang Yao leave. "Damn, who is this guy? I know him. I chatted with him for a while when the municipal party secretary came for an inspection last time." "So bad *SS? What do you think?" "He's from the same village as the mayor." "The mayor won't punish us, right?" "I don't think so." All the formalities were completed. This meant that from today on, the right to use the land in the south of the village belonged to Wang Yao. Of course, if he wanted to build a house, he still had to go through the formalities and comply with the village's unified planning. However, the definition of the unified planning was more general. After all, this was only a small mountain village, not a city. The iron door was still locked and the key was long gone. Wang Yao stretched out his hand and squeezed hard. With a "kacha" sound, the rusty iron lock was forcibly broken. Creak. When the iron door opened, it made an obscure and ear-piercing sound. The courtyard wasn't small. It was about 30 meters from east to west and 20 meters from north to south. Early weeds grew in the courtyard, and the taller ones were about a meter tall. Find some time to clean up this place, and then find someone to make a good plan. After going up Nanshan Hill, Wang Yao took out a piece of paper and a pen and started to write and draw on it. He paused for a while and thought for a while. Then he wrote and drew again. It was late into the night and several pieces of paper were wasted before a rough outline was formed. The next day, the weather was fine. After eating the medicinal diet prepared by Wang Yao, the dog recovered very well and was able to run happily on the mountain. In the morning, a car entered the mountain village and stopped at the south side of the village. A couple got out of the car. One was thin and didn't look very good, while the other was gentle and virtuous. After they got out of the car, they walked along the mountain road towards the mountain. "Don't tell me they are going up Nanshan Hill again?" Some people in the village were not surprised by these things. In the past, there were always people who came to the village and went up Nanshan Hill. These people all drove luxury cars. What are they going to do on Nanshan Hill? No one knew, but the villagers were guessing. In all likelihood, they are going to buy Wang Yao's herbs. This was the reason they came up with. It was also the only suitable explanation. Only a few people in the village knew that Wang Yao had medical skills. The two people just went around a mountain and stopped. They found a shade to sit down and rest for a while. After that, they continued to move forward. When they reached the top of the mountain, they were already panting, especially the thin man, who was sweating profusely. In the cottage, Wang Yao heard the dog barking outside. He walked out of the cottage and saw the couple standing outside the herbal field. Brother Tian. After seeing clearly who it was, he was also shocked. In less than a month's time, Tian Tuyen had lost so much weight that he looked like now. He had lost at least 20 pounds, and his eyes were dull and lifeless. He was no longer as elegant as he used to be. "What's wrong with you?" "Ah, it's a long story," Tian Yuantu said. "Come in and have a seat." Wang Yao hurriedly invited the two people into the cottage. He then made a pot of tea and poured it for them. After that, Tian Yuantu told him the purpose of his visit. Diabetes? Wang Yao was stunned. This disease belonged to the scope of quenching thirst in traditional Chinese medicine. It was dry, hot, and harmful to the physical body. It consumed qi and damaged yin. In the initial stage of the disease, the person would drink too much when thirsty, eat too much, and be hungry. These were the symptoms that Tian Yuantu was showing. The treatment methods of traditional Chinese medicine were mainly to clear heat and moisten dryness, and to supplement qi and nourish yin. "Let me take a look." Wang Yao checked his pulse. The pulse was floating, and the body was hot and evil. The yin qi was insufficient, and the yin and yang were out of balance. The internal organs were compensated by the meridians, especially the liver. A blockage of qi and blood would lead to all kinds of diseases. Come, lie down first. Wang Yao pointed to the bed next to him. Lie down. Tian Yuantu was stunned. He followed Wang Yao's instructions and lay down on the bed. Wang Yao reached out his hand and massaged Tian Yuantu's acupoints to dredge his meridians. He pushed, pressed, and rubbed back and forth. How do you feel? Well, I feel much better. Tian Yuantu, who was lying on the bed, felt much better after Wang Yao's massage. His body was not as heavy as when he went up the mountain. I didn't expect you to know how to massage. I know a little, Wang Yao said with a smile. Your disease is in the early stage. I'll prescribe you a medicine. Take it on time. It should be able to control it. Wang Yao could not cure diabetes immediately with his current ability. After all, he was still a novice who had just taken a few steps on the road. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Wang Yao wrote a prescription for Tian Tuyuan. Then, he wrote down the things that Tian Tuyuan needed to pay attention to, especially his daily habit. He wrote it down very carefully. After he finished writing, he thought about it again and only gave it to Tian Tuyuan after he was sure that there were no problems. These are the things to pay attention to. The consultation fee. Forget it. Wang Yao waved his hand with a smile. They were friends, and this treatment did not consume any licorice root. You'd better take the herbs from Brotherly. Try your best to use wild herbs. Okay. Come back in a week. I'll take a look again, Wang Yao said. Originally, he wanted to ask Tian Yuantu to help design the house in the courtyard. Looking at Tian Yuantu's current condition, he decided to postpone it. He walked the couple down the mountain. Looking at them leaving together, he felt a little emotional. Is this what they mean by never leaving each other? The weather in June was like a child's face. It changed at will. That day, it rained at night. At first, it was a light rain. Later, it became a moderate rain. It did not stop raining. It continued to rain until the next morning. Wang Yao sat in front of the window and looked outside. There was a curtain of rain between the sky and the earth. In the mountain stream, not far from the herbal field, the water flow was increasing. In Wang Yao's herbal field, the water in the pond also rippled and flowed into the mountain stream next to it. This rain is timely. It had not rained for more than a month. In such hot weather, rain was also good. Wang Yao walked out of the house. He held an umbrella and looked up at the sky. At this time, he was in the spirit-gathering battle array. He found that the rain from all directions seemed to be gathering in this place. If one stood at the foot of the mountain and looked up, they would find that the rain and fog on the mountain was particularly thick. It was almost impossible to see the trees. Is it because of the battle array? The rain had spirit. However, some herbs did not like water. Wang Yao stood in the rain curtain between heaven and earth. He closed his eyes and felt the spirit between heaven and earth. Then, he gently pushed his hands. There seemed to be an invisible wall between his palms. Before his palms reached, the raindrops were pushed away out of thin air. Then, he pulled back. The raindrops seemed to be attracted by something and gathered in the direction of his palms. His palms turned back and forth in the rain. Chapter 246. There was a suction and repulsion force covering his palm as he turned it over. He pushed out his palm. A curtain of rain was cut off. In a very short period of time, a part of it was empty. Then, it returned to normal. After he stopped, there were only a few raindrops on his hand. The rain lasted the entire night and the entire day. The rain was very abundant. The river in the mountain stream was also full. There was water on the mountain, so the mountain had more spiritual energy. The dog lay in its house and quietly looked at the rain outside. It seemed to be thinking about something. Its eyes were a little distant. Because of the rain, the mountain road was muddy. Wang Yao did not go down the mountain. Instead, he made do with a few meals on the mountain. When it rained, Wang Yao did not stay in the hut all the time. Instead, he wandered around the herbal field to see if the herbs were affected by the rain. It was also good to make some drainage arrangements in the herbal field. However, what made him happy was that, under the blessing of the spirit-gathering battle array, the world seemed to have undergone a qualitative change. Even the soil under his feet was the same. Even though the mountain road outside was very muddy under the heavy rain, the soil in the herbal field did not become like that. All the rainwater had seeped into the ground. Gather the spiritual energy from all directions and change the world. Not only the sky but also the earth. In a courtyard house in Jing, thousands of miles away, a thin old man was lying on the bed. Cough, cough, cough. He kept coughing as if his lungs were going to be coughed out. A middle-aged man stood in front of the bed. "Teacher, it doesn't matter. It's an old problem." The old man waved his hand and said, "After taking a medicine, the violent cough calmed down a lot." 5 elements battle array, ancient pharmacist? Yes. The middle-aged man standing in front of the bed replied very respectfully. "Do you want me to go and have a look?" The old man stared at the student standing in front of the bed. 10 years ago, he was still his disciple. However, for some reason, he was willing to be punished by the sect rules and directly left. He also learned the Western skills that they rejected the most. However, 3 years ago, he suddenly repented and came to visit. A year ago, he picked up what he had left behind. Now, he was already in his twilight years. Those disciples occasionally came to see him. However, the disciple who had betrayed the sect often came to see him and brought very precious information. Oldgua's illness was cured by him? He wasn't sick to begin with, the middle-aged man said. Yes and no. However, to be able to delay the extinguishing of the flame of life for a period of time, this ability is indeed formidable. He is indeed powerful. I admire him very much. That's rare. How about this, you make the arrangement. I'll go with you a week later. Yes, teacher. The rain stopped at night. It fell at night and stopped at night. Stars twinkled in the sky. In the small house, Wang Yao was preparing some medicinal herbs. He was going to brew a medicine the next day to imitate the muscle revitalization powder. The licorice roots in the catalogue of magic herbs were very precious. They almost didn't exist in this world. Moreover, with his current ability in the herbal field, he couldn't provide them on a large scale. He wanted to use some common wild herbs to replace the licorice roots and decoct the decoction. He hoped that the decoction would have a similar effect. He had already tried this before. It was the regather soup. The effect was not bad. However, that kind of decoction was used to consolidate the corporeity. It was not a very targeted decoction like the muscle revitalization powder. Whether it would work or not, he would only know after he tried it. Moreover, during the time he was at home, he hadn't decocted the decoction. It was time to exercise. In the morning, the sun rose very early. After a day of practice, Wang Yao began to prepare the decoction. Firewood, ancient spring water, multifunctional pot for herbs, several medicinal herbs, crackle, crackle, crackle. The sound of burning firewood. Wang Yao put the medicinal herbs into the multifunctional pot for herbs in order and observed the color of the decoction. The fragrance of the herbs wafted out. Everlasting grass and lingshanji could not be added. He found other 3 common medicinal herbs as substitutes and added them into the decoction. No. Looking at the changes in the decoction, Wang Yao immediately realized that there was a problem with the decoction. The color of the decoction didn't change much, but the physical form of the decoction changed. It became muddy and the smell changed. It became a bit pungent. The decoction experiment this time was most likely a failure. However, he was not in a hurry to stop the decoction. Instead, he continued to experiment according to his idea. Since it was wrong, he would continue to see what effect it would have in the end. The effect was not good. Wang Yao looked at the medicinal herbs in the multifunctional pot for herb. It was like dried porridge. This was because of the special effect of the multifunctional pot for herbs. If it was just an ordinary casserole, he did not know what it would be like. He tried to pick out a little with his fingers and smeared it on his skin. It was not as cool and comfortable as the previous muscle revitalization powder. Instead, it was sticky and slightly cold. It failed. After throwing away the failed decoction, he packed up the utensils. Then, he thought about the decoction process just now. There was no problem with the process. The only problem was that the medicinal herbs were not right. It seems that licorice roots are licorice root. They can't be replaced by ordinary medicinal herbs. At noon, he went down the mountain and went home for lunch. Although there was surplus food on the mountain, Wang Yao's cooking skills were not very good. How could he compare with his mother? After lunch, he stayed at home for a while and went out with a hoe for weeding. However, he did not go up the mountain. Instead, he went to the courtyard at the south of the village. The courtyard was overgrown with weeds. He needed to deal with the weeds here first. Because it had just rained, it was relatively easy to clean up the weed. However, the ground was more muddy. Wang Yao spent the whole afternoon cleaning up about 1/3 of the area. The place near the west wall was full of weeds. In fact, he could have used another way to clean up the weeds here, which was to use herbicides. After spraying them, the weeds would naturally wither after a period of time. However, the synthetic chemicals would pollute the soil and water sources. There was no hurry. Wang Yao looked at the weeds around him. After the weeds were cleaned up, he needed to demolish the original crumbling old houses and build a new one. Of course, it needed a process and a period of time. That night, when they were having dinner at home, his uncle came over, and his aunt came along with him. After dinner, he told his uncle the purpose of his visit: to borrow money to buy a house. Wang Yao's uncle and his family lived in a village very close to the county. He had been there several times. There were 4 big tile-roofed houses and a big courtyard. It was a good place. However, his aunt wanted to live in a building. She said it was convenient and clean. Since she was pregnant, his aunt didn't go to work. Only his uncle was left. Although he did some errands in the factory, he only earned a few thousand yuan a month. At most, he had a small income, but he had to live in fear all day long. Now, the house price in Lianshan County had reached 4,000 to 5,000 yuan. A house of similar quality would cost at least 400,000 yuan. How much do you want to borrow? Wang Yao's mother asked. 50,000 yuan, his uncle said. Okay. Wang Yao's mother listened. The two of them had saved some money and were going to buy a house for Wang Yao. However, it seemed that Wang Yao did not need their help. They simply lent the money to his brother. Uncle, how much is the house you want? Wang Yao, who had not interrupted, asked. 520,000 yuan, Wang Yao's uncle said. How much do you need? Wang Yao asked. He wanted to help. He still had a few million yuan in his hand. He did not need to use it. He did not want to manage money. Although his uncle was a bit snobbish, he was still his relative. He treated him well. If he had the ability, he would help. I want to raise 300,000 yuan. The remaining 220,000 yuan is a loan. 300,000 yuan was not even enough to buy a pigeon house in a first-tier city like Beijing. However, in Lianshan County, some families might not be able to save so much money at once even after saving for decades. I still have some money here. You can give me a number and use it first, Wang Yao said calmly. What? His uncle and aunt were stunned. Chapter 247. Yao, how much do you have? His uncle asked. How much do you need? I'll make up for it, Wang Yao said. Really? His uncle asked happily. In the end, his uncle borrowed $350,000 from him. Of course, he didn't give the money to him immediately. He couldn't give it to him. He had to transfer the money to the bank the next day. His parents were very happy when they left. Now, the most worrying thing in the city was a house. Borrowing money from relatives and borrowing money from the bank were two completely different concepts. Wang Yao's parents didn't ask much. They didn't ask how much money their son had. They also didn't ask where the money came from. They knew their son didn't do bad things. The money came from the right place. As for lending money to relatives, it was reasonable. After his uncle's family left, Wang Yao massaged his parents' muscles and bones to relieve their tiredness. He then left the house and went to Nanshan Hill. It was very quiet at night. A car hurriedly drove into Lianshan County. Two middle-aged men were sitting in the car. "Is your information reliable?" "It's very reliable. He's in this county now." "Okay." In a cheap hotel in Lianshan County. In a room, a skinny man leaned against the window, looking at the cheapest cigarette and looking at the night sky outside. His face was full of sadness. On Nanshan Hill, Wang Yao looked up at the sky. He found that the night sky was a bit strange. It was the first time he had encountered such a strange thing since he suddenly had the idea to observe the sky. Why are there red clouds in the black night sky? In the room, Wang Yao wrote down the strange night sky in his notebook. The next day, the sky was shining brightly. It was already June. The temperature began to rise significantly. People were wearing less. The worst crime since the establishment of Lianshan County had happened. A family of 3 was killed in their own courtyard. The scene was extremely tragic. It was said that the first policeman to arrive at the scene of the crime vomited on the spot. His face was pale. It was no wonder. At most, they would see a few gangsters. They had never seen such a scene. For such a vicious case, the county government naturally attached great importance to it and immediately set up a task force. The city also gave instructions to solve the case within a time limit. "Have you heard? It's a massacre." "I know. He must have provoked an enemy." "There are children too. It is said that the murderer is still in Lianshan County." "What?" For a time, the people in this small city were in a state of panic. It's easy to say that we have a deadline to solve the case. How are we going to solve it? Who knows, the person might have already run away. At this time, the police chief in charge of the case was also very anxious. This small town had been peaceful for many years. At most, there would be a case of injury like the vicious murder that happened last night. He had been a police officer in this small town for more than 20 years, but this was the first time he had encountered such a case. If he had not encountered a case before, he would have no experience. In fact, solving a case was completely different from what was described on TV and in book. He knew very well what his subordinates were capable of: drinking, bragging, and currying favor with their leader. Solving a case? What a joke! They did not have the brains to do so. There was no other way. Since the higher-ups had arranged it, they had to do it even if they did not know how to do it. The most basic appearance had to be done. As a result, Lianshan County began a full-scale investigation that had not been carried out for many years. All the hotels were investigated one by one. Police were also arranged at the bus station and train station to check suspicious people. What was a suspicious person? This definition was not easy to define. Hey, when will this matter end? At a crossroad, 2 policemen on duty were sitting in the car and smoking. It was uncomfortable to be on duty outside in such hot weather. If it were in the past, they would be in the office with the air conditioner on, drinking tea, bragging, and having a lot of fun. That damned murderer! Brotherly, if we really meet the murderer, with just the 2 of us and these 2 batons, it's useless. Maybe we will die in the line of duty. Shut your crow's mouth. How can there be such a coincidence that we just happen to meet? They were talking in the car. A young man in black came to the side of the police car with a smile. "Hello, police officers. What's the matter? The two policemen looked at the handsome young man in front of them. A person fainted in the woods over there, the young man said. Look, can you go over and have a look? Hey, I didn't know you were a kind man, one of the policemen said. Not at all, I'm afraid of scammers. I just happened to see the police here. Are you also afraid of scammers? The young man said with a smile. Tisk, let's go and have a look. The two policemen got out of the car and followed the young man to the woods next to the road. Who has nothing to do to come here? Maybe it's convenient? The young man's voice was a bit soft. We're here. Where is he? On the ground. Gulp. Whoosh. The siren was whistling. In the small mountain town of Lianshan County, the police cars seemed to have never been as busy as today. The police chief's face was livid. It was as if someone owed him more than 1,000,000 yuan. That person even died. 2 of his men had just been killed in the woods next to the road. They died very miserably. He had personally gone to the scene. Their hearts were dug out while they were still alive. Since the establishment of Lianshan County, such a bad incident had never happened. 2 policemen were sacrificed at once. Get the surveillance cameras around here. We've checked, but we didn't find anything, a policeman said. In fact, the surveillance cameras around the road happened to be in a blank area. Because it was in the suburbs, no one would pay attention to it. Then go and check, don't just stay here stupidly. Yes. Also, tell the people to pay attention to safety. If there is any suspicious situation, they must not act alone. Understood. Is there a mistake? In less than 2 days, 5 people died. 1 was killed, and the other 2 were policemen. Is he crazy? In a hotel in Lianshan County, a tall man was surprised after reading the news on the internet. He's a madman to begin with, another skinny man said. If he does this, the province will soon send experts to solve the case. Things will become a lot more troublesome. That's why we are here. It was Saturday. Wang Ru returned to the mountain village and told her family the shocking news that had happened in Lianshan County in the past 2 days. She also exaggerated the story. Sister, 5 people died. Why are you so excited? Wang Yao looked at his sister, who was so excited that her face was red. He really didn't understand why she was so excited. She was already 27 years old. No wonder no one wanted her now. It's a storm in a small town. Such a terrible and vicious incident has never happened before. Then, sister, I think we should be worried. Who knows when that cold-blooded killer will appear beside us? There is no chance. The criminal investigation experts from the province and the city have arrived in the county. It is said that there is a more powerful department. A more powerful department? Where did you hear this news? Wang Yao asked with a smile. Gossip, but the criminal investigation experts have really arrived in the county. The province is also very concerned about such vicious incidents. They have a deadline to solve the case. Lianshan County was only 20 kilometers away from the mountain village. The distance was not far, but the storm in the county did not affect this small mountain village. The Jilian Mountains were connected by 9 peaks. That was how Lianshan County got its name. There was a temple on the mountain called Guangming Temple. It was said that the plaque of the temple was inscribed by the Qianlong Emperor of the Qing dynasty. However, during the turbulent era in the early days of the founding of the country, the buildings in the temple were almost destroyed. Now, all the buildings were newly built. At first glance, it was obvious that the sedimentation of history was missing. Because it was Saturday, there were still some people who came to the mountain to play. In the temple, there was a special monk who was responsible for drawing and interpreting the divination. In layman's terms, it was divination. Master, can you help me? A handsome young man in white asked the monk in front of him with a smile. He looked like he was in his 30s. Chapter 248. Be careful. Go to the temple and burn 2 incense sticks. Buddha will bless you, the monk said. Thank you, master. The young man smiled and took out a red bill. A happy smile appeared on the monk's face as he took it with a smile. You are worth teaching. The young man entered the temple. The incense sticks were not for free. Naturally, people had to spend money to buy peace of mind. In fact, the bodhisattva was so busy. How could he take care of so many wishes? The young man spent money to buy 3 incense sticks and then burn them in front of the bodhisattva. After burning the incense, he looked up at the 3-foot-tall statue of the bodhisattva in front of him with an indescribable smile on his face. There are no clues for the time being. No fingerprints, no dropped items, and even the footprints were destroyed. This must be a habitual offender. In Lianshan County, several criminal investigation experts were holding a meeting. The content of the meeting was the vicious incident that happened in the small town in the past 2 days. They were ordered to come. The matter was very important to them and had specially set a hard deadline to solve the case. However, the situation at the scene surprised them. The opponent was very cunning. Let us think again. There must be something that we missed. In Lianshan County, a rare big investigation had been in progress. In the past few days, all the outsiders who entered and left Lianshan County were investigated. Not only that, but all the people in the county who had a criminal record were invited to the police station for questioning. Officer, I did make mistakes, but that was because I was young and ignorant. Now I have turned over a new leaf. I just stole a wallet. I really don't have the guts to kill people. Officer, I just came back from Tibet today. The storm in the small town had nothing to do with Wang Yao. Today, he drove to Lianshan County and went to the clinic where Pan Mei was. He had made an appointment to stay there for the whole morning. Ever since he obtained the system, he had been working hard to level up, hoping to gain more abilities. There were many ways to gain experience, mainly through the missions issued by the system. There were other ways, such as curing illnesses or brewing medicine, but it all depended on the situation. The experience gained from curing a difficult disease was incomparable to the experience gained from curing a common cold. Similarly, the experience gained from concocting a normal medicine was also very different from the experience gained from concocting a special medicine. However, how could intractable diseases be so easy to treat? Moreover, the special medicine required licorice roots. Recently, his redemption points had always been stretched thin, and the herbs planted in the medicinal field were even less than those that met the requirements. However, no matter how small a mosquito's leg was, it was still meat. He still had to get what he deserved. Moreover, he had already promised the Pan siblings that he would come and see them when he had time. Today was the weekend. According to past experience, there should be relatively more people coming to see the doctor. However, there were only 3 to 5 people in the clinic. Moreover, some of them were friends who came to visit instead of seeing the doctor. There are very few people today. Yes, there are fewer people. Didn't a murder happen 2 days ago? The whole town is in a state of panic. This is still daytime. If you look at it at night, there will be even fewer people, Pan Jun said. He was free today. You haven't caught him yet? *T. I heard from a buddy in the police station that the experts from the provincial capital were all frowning. So far, they haven't found any useful clues. It's said that he's a repeat offender. Repeat offender? After all, killing 5 people in a row in just 2 days was considered a particularly major case in China. If he was a repeat offender, there should be a corresponding record. Hey, I've seen the bodies of the 2 policemen who died, Pan Jun whispered as he looked around. You've seen them? Yes, they were sent to the hospital for an autopsy. The fatal injury was in the chest. The heart is gone. The heart is gone. Wang Yao was shocked. This kind of killing method only appeared in novels and movies. He didn't expect it to really exist in real life. Such people often had a certain degree of psychological abnormality. Yes, it's gone, and it was forcibly taken out by someone. forcibly taken out from the chest. Hearing this, Wang Yao's face changed. Yes, it doesn't look like it was taken out by someone using a sharp knife or sword, Pan Jun said. Hand? How is that possible? The toughness of a human's bones was unimaginable to ordinary people. Forcefully tearing apart the muscles and bones to dig out the heart was something that could only be seen in novels and movies. In reality, it was almost impossible to do such a thing. Yes, I also think it's impossible. Unless? Wang Yao thought of a possibility. In any case, I hope the case can be solved as soon as possible, right? Yes. In the morning, Wang Yao only saw one patient. At noon, he had lunch in Lianshan County. In the afternoon, when he was ready to rush back, he was stopped by a phone call from Wang Mingbao. He said there was something to talk about. What's the matter? It's nothing. You're in Lianshan County. Don't rush back. I've asked Brother Li and the others out. Let's meet up. Okay, then I won't rush back in the afternoon. Not long after, Li Maoshuang, Wei Hai, and Tian Yuantu came over. Wang Yao checked the pulse of Tian Yuantu and Wei Hai respectively. They were in good condition. Well, you're recovering well. I still have to thank you. Brother Tian, how's the business going? Wang Yao said. It's going well. The procedures have been completed. I can be considered to have one less thing to worry about. I didn't expect my body to become like this again. Sigh. Tian Yuantu sighed. God won't let everything go your way, Li Maoshuang said with a smile. I used to be like you. All I wanted to do was to make my business stronger and bigger. Until one day I got this strange disease and almost lost my life. Then I got over it. Now I guess you have the same feeling, right? Wei Hai said. Yes, when I was in the hospital in Dao I experienced it, Tian Yuantu said. People wouldn't believe what others said if they didn't experience it. Hey, this small town has been in a state of panic recently. They started talking about the murderer again. Such a vicious incident has never happened in this small town. I don't know if the murderer has left Lianshan County. Have the criminal investigation experts from the province found any clues? They chatted for a while. When it was dark, they went to the restaurant downstairs for dinner. If it was at this time in the past, the restaurant would be full. However, it was deserted now. There were only a few tables of guests. The hall was empty. Hey, you are here. Please come in. The boss saw that they were regulars and immediately greeted them with a smile. Boss, there haven't been many people coming to eat in the past 2 days. Isn't that so? It's all that damn murderer's fault. Now, once it's past 8 o'clock, there aren't many people hanging out outside, let alone people eating, the boss said. We are all men. We are not afraid. Besides, there is someone who knows kung fu, Li Maoshuang said. Is that so? The boss only thought they were joking. They chose a table by the window and sat down. After a while, the dishes were served one after another. After dinner, it was almost 8 o'clock. After coming out of the restaurant, Wang Mingbao suddenly said, Hey, why don't you stay here for the night? Yes, stay here for the night. I don't feel at ease, Wei Hai said. It's okay. Didn't you say that I'm a master? Wang Yao said with a smile. Well, you should rest early. I'll go back first. Give me a call when you get home. Okay. Wang Yao drove back. At night, there were very few cars on the road. Usually, he had to walk for several kilometers to see a car, and the car was very fast. It was dark. 2 figures shuttled quickly in a field, as if they were walking on flat ground. Swish. Swish. They were like leopards ready to hunt. Damn, he's running pretty fast. Huh? In the car, Wang Yao suddenly found 2 figures flashing by at a very fast speed in the field on the side of the road. What's going on? In this dark wilderness, there were 2 people. They were definitely up to no good. Therefore, he felt that he had to do his duty as a good citizen. He directly called the police station. Chapter 249. This time, the police were unusually fast. A large number of police cars arrived at the scene in a very short time. Along with them were criminal investigation experts from the province. They also brought police dogs. There were no police dogs in a small place like Lianshan County. They were specially transferred from Hike City in order to quickly solve this vicious case. They quickly found footprints in the field. They immediately took evidence of the footprints and began to follow the footprints. At night, their speed was affected, but they were still excited. Thump! A policeman suddenly fell down without any warning. He struggled on the ground and seemed to be in pain. Be alert! All the policemen stopped moving forward and looked around vigilantly. The field was quiet at night. There were no other people or creatures except for them. We didn't find anyone else. Leave someone to take care of the injured. The rest of you continue to track. They continued to follow the footprints. These footprints were a bit special. They obviously belonged to two people. They were running one after the other. The surprising thing was that the distance between the footprints was more than 2 meters. What kind of person can have such big strides when running? It's like jumping. Thump! Just as they were surprised, a person fell to the ground. His body was trembling and struggling, but he couldn't make a sound. All the policemen stopped tracking again and looked at their companion on the ground. Again, without any warning, a person fell to the ground. What's going on? Something called fear lingered in everyone's mind. In the dark night, everyone's breathing became heavier. When will the ambulance arrive? It's on the way. Continue to chase. Continue to chase. Some people had already retreated. They were afraid. 2 people had fallen to the ground. No one dared to say that there wouldn't be a third person later. Continue to chase. The criminal investigation expert from the province gritted his teeth. It was not easy to find such a clue. How could he give it up? Under the order, several people continued to chase. As a result, they soon found the next person, but this time it wasn't a person. It was a police dog. It fell to the ground and twitched. What? Everyone was stunned. There was still no one around. What's going on? Did I meet a ghost at night? This time, even the criminal investigation expert leading the team felt fear. He was only an experienced policeman, not a fearless warrior. When faced with the unknown, he would also feel fear. Thus, this night's tracking stopped. None of them went back. Instead, they waited on the nearby road, waiting for the hare to appear. However, in the end, this kind of waiting did not continue because another 3 policemen fell one after another. The symptoms were exactly the same as the previous 2 people. They had no choice but to retreat. At the same time, they did not forget to use isolation tape to seal off the area and inform the branch secretary of a nearby village. In the county hospital, the doctors in the emergency department were busy. In the middle of the night, they suddenly received a few special patients. They were policemen with strange symptoms. They had fever all over their bodies and were convulsing non-stop. 2 of them had already fallen into a coma. He's poisoned. Poisoned? What poison? We don't know yet, but when we checked their bodies, we found traces of being bitten. These doctors did find traces of being bitten on the policemen's bodies. They had turned purple and black, and the tissue was rapidly festering. From this point of view, they knew that the poison was very powerful, but they did not know what it was specifically. Is there a way to treat them? Not for the time being. They knew that they were poisoned, but they did not know what kind of poison it was. How could they be treated? Damn it! In the middle of the night, the director of the Public Security Bureau smashed a cup in his office. He had received a call from his subordinate. 5 of his men had fallen. Fortunately, they were not directly killed this time, but the situation was very serious. He originally wanted to go to the hospital to have a look, but he received a call from his superiors. They were very angry about this matter. What was the use of being angry? He was also very angry, but could this be used to catch the murderer? No. What kind of person would use such a sinister method? In the county hospital. If you can't treat them, hurry up and transfer them to another hospital. A criminal investigation expert from the province said in the hospital. He was responsible for the late-night chase. Now, the person had not been caught. Instead, several policemen who assisted in the chase were seriously injured. This responsibility was on him, so he was very anxious. Okay, we'll arrange for the transfer immediately, the hospital manager said. This was a matter of life and death. Moreover, there were 5 people at once. He did not dare to be careless. Deep in his heart, he still hoped that they would be transferred to another hospital. This way, their responsibility and pressure would be reduced. He immediately arranged for the relevant personnel to go through the formalities. Director Pan, what did you want to say just now? Nothing. Pan Jun smiled and shook his head. He was not on duty that day, but there was an emergency in the department, so he came and participated in the emergency treatment of these policemen. Their illness was very strange. Although it could be determined that they were poisoned, it could not be treated. At this time, the first thing he thought of was Wang Yao. With his almost supernatural ability, he should be able to detoxify this poison, right? Although he thought about it, he did not say it. Just now, he hesitated because of this. He had a bad feeling. Even if these people were transferred to another hospital, they might not be able to be treated well. Several cars left Lianshan County overnight to take the poisoned policemen to Hike City. Somewhere in the mountains in Lianshan County, 2 men were. He actually got away again. Brother. What's wrong? The bag is open? What? How many escaped? 7. This is troublesome. Let's go back and look for him. In a foreign company in Dao, Tong Wei looked outside. Tong Wei looked outside. She was deep in thought and had to make a difficult decision. She had just received a notice from the company that the time of going abroad had been changed. It had been brought forward to 3 days later. Although she had already prepared for it, after receiving the news, she still felt uneasy. She had already called Wang Yao. She would go back to Lianshan County the next day. France, Paris. Nanshan Hill, leisurely as usual. Under the night sky, it was quiet. San Xian suddenly raised his head to look at the sky and then lay down again. It was 11 o'clock at night. Wang Yao was still awake. He did not know what was wrong. Tonight, he lay down but could not fall asleep. This had never happened before. What's wrong with me? When he fell asleep, it was already 12 o'clock at night. In the morning, the sun was blocked by the dark clouds in the sky. Wang Yao watched the car go to Lianshan County. Tong Wei would come back today. He had originally planned to pick her up, but Tong Wei said she would hitch a ride. She did not want him to go again. Well, this small town is quite good. It was a handsome young man in black clothes. His face was slightly pale, and he had a faint smile on his face. You're back. Where are you? Wait a minute. I'll pick you up. Tong Wei got out of the car at an intersection. It was a village not far from Lianshan County. The person who drove her back was a classmate from Dao. He originally wanted to send her into the city, but there was an emergency. He could only drop her off. The bus came from afar. Hello? It was a voice that sounded a little soft. Tong Wei looked back and saw a young man with a faint smile on his face. Hello, she replied with a smile. You're so beautiful, the young man said with a smile. Thank you, Tong Wei replied, but it was as if she was 1,000 miles away. The bus slowly drove over. Tong Wei got on the bus. The young man also got on the bus. The bus was very empty. Tong Wei got off near the back door. The young man sat in the seat in the middle of the bus. His eyes were always staring at Tong Wei. Tong Wei's brows furrowed slightly. This person's gaze made her feel a little uncomfortable. The bus arrived at the station. Tong Wei got off the bus, but the young man did not get off. Phew! Tong Wei was slightly relieved. At this time, her phone rang. Not long after, Wang Yao drove to her side. Why didn't you wait for me? Something came up. Tong Wei smiled slightly. At a crossroad not far away, a young man looked at the car, the young man in the car, and the smiling woman who was talking to him. He grinned. So beautiful! He said these two words. Wang Yao sent Tong Wei home. After a short rest, the two of them left her home together. They went to a nearby supermarket to buy some ingredients. That night, he was going to eat at Tong Wei's parents' house. Why did you suddenly bring it forward? The company's arrangement. It seems that there are some changes in France. It's all ready. Yes, it's all ready, Tong Wei said. If it was in the past, she would be happy. But now, as her relationship with Wang Yao deepened and deepened, she was more and more reluctant to leave. The classmate in front of her was more outstanding than she had imagined. He was like a gold buried in the sand. She was afraid that after she left, other girls would discover this shining gold. What are you thinking about? Is there something on your mind? I'm thinking about you, Tong Wei said with a smile. When I'm away, don't fool around with other girls. Wang Yao was stunned. Yes. In the evening, there was a sumptuous dinner in Tong Wei's house. The dinner was very harmonious. Why don't you stay here for the night? Tong Wei invited Wang Yao to stay for the night for the first time. No, I'll send you back to Dao tomorrow. Okay. Wang Yao drove out of Tong Wei's neighborhood and went to the outer ring road. Boom. A motorcycle brushed past his car and rushed past him. Thud. The motorcycle suddenly fell. Wang Yao hurriedly stepped on the brakes. With a screech, the car stopped. He got out of the car and saw only the motorcycle. There was no one. Chapter 250. He didn't know where the cyclist had gone. The street lights were a little dim. Because of the vicious incident a few days ago, there were few cars in the outer ring. Where is he? Wang Yao frowned slightly. Hello. A sharp voice came from behind him. Wang Yao slowly turned around and saw a man in black. His face was a little pale. Hello. The smell of blood. He smelled a faint smell of blood from this young man. The night is beautiful, isn't it? The man looked at Wang Yao with a smile. What's your name? Wang Yao asked with a smile. My surname is Sun, the young man said with a smile. You are sick. Yes. I want to eat meat, fresh meat. Human meat? Since the man appeared, Wang Yao's eyes had not left him. This man was really sick, and very sick. You've eaten it before? The man was very surprised after hearing that. Sure enough, the person in front of him should be the murderer who had committed 2 vicious crimes in this peaceful small town. The entire town was in a state of panic because of this person. Even at night, not many people dared to come out and walk around. I like to eat hearts the most. They have just been taken out of the human body and are still beating. Paranoia, psychopathy, personality dissociation? I can't help it. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Then, he reached out his hand very quickly. However, he missed. The food in front of him suddenly moved sideways and avoided the blow. Wang Yao punched out. The speed was indescribably fast. Pop! The air made a sound of explosion. With an exclamation, the man dodged like a ghost. Wang Yao lifted his leg and quickly followed up. Then, he punched again. Air-splitting punch. The punch broke the air. This was a boxing technique in the boxing classic. It looked simple, but in fact, it was extremely fierce. The man's body was like a ghost, and his palm was like a blade. He was a rare kung fu master, and he walked the way of evil. After Wang Yao heard this person's voice, the aura in his body was stimulated. It was like the water of a great river. Once it was used, it would be able to destroy mountains and split rocks. Its power was enormous. The young man's pale face turned red. He didn't expect to meet such a terrifying young man here. He originally wanted to eat his opponent's heart, but he was firmly suppressed by his opponent. That fierce and overbearing fist technique made him unable to breathe. Moreover, his opponent's speed was definitely getting faster and faster. No, we have to go. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Something flew through the air. Wang Yao hurriedly dodged, and that person took the opportunity to leave. Wang Yao fiercely stomped on the ground. Gotcha! The ground directly split open. In an instant, he was behind that person. Then, he gently opened his palm, and there seemed to be mist in between his palms. A cracking sound was heard. Whoosh! That person was directly sent flying by this palm strike, and rolled to the side of the road. Wang Yao followed closely behind and saw a silver light. Open. He suddenly raised his palms, and the silver light was lifted into the air. Looking at that person again, he didn't know where to go. Wang Yao didn't chase after him. Although he knew that he could definitely catch up with that person if he followed closely, that person's strange methods were really difficult to guard against. So, he stopped, took out his mobile phone, and chose to call the police. After the phone call, he came to the front of the car. The car didn't go far before suddenly braking. Then, he turned around abruptly and drove toward the county. After a while, several police cars rushed over. A large number of police officers began to search, and there were 3 police dogs. The same mobile phone number as last time? Yes. Find out this person. Yes. In a residential area in Lianshan County. Shall Wei go to bed early? Got it, Mom. Tong Wei was wearing pajamas. She had just taken a shower and was about to go back to the bedroom to rest. Gotcha! A crisp sound came from the door. She looked toward the door. Creak! The door actually opened. What's going on? She was stunned. She clearly remembered that she had locked the door from the inside. The door opened and a young man stood outside. He was dressed in black. His lips were blood-red, and his face was a little pale. Who is this person? Tong Wei's heart skipped a beat. She was completely dumbfounded. This was the stranger who greeted her in front of the bus stop during the day. Why would he appear here? Why would he open the door of her house? Call the police. After regaining her senses, she immediately turned around and wanted to take the mobile phone on the table. However, she felt a trace of coldness fall on her throat. You are so beautiful! Tong Wei felt a trace of hot air blowing by her ear. Then, a hand was placed on her waist and slowly moved up. In an instant, she had goosebumps all over her body. Don't disturb your parents. You must be very delicious. Tong Wei was a little desperate. Gotcha! Another sound was heard. Well, that person suddenly turned around and the blade of the knife cut horizontally. Bang! A punch broke through the air. That person directly flew out and directly hit the wall with a thud. Nobody knew when there was another person in the room. Wang Yao! Tong Wei exclaimed in surprise. Things changed too quickly, and the surprise came too suddenly. Heaven and hell were separated by a single thought. Call the police, Wang Yao said calmly. What's that sound? The door of the inner room opened. Tong Wei's father stuck his head out and saw his daughter in pajamas, Wang Yao, and an unfamiliar young man. This is... He was stunned. Uncle, let's go back to the room, Wang Yao said with a smile. Hello. Tong Wei's phone had already been connected. How did you know I would come here? This. Wang Yao threw a button on the table. It was a button on Tong Wei's clothes. It was very inconspicuous. It fell on the ground during the fight just now. What a pity! The young man sighed. The two of them went back and forth several times in the narrow room. There was a faint sound of wind. Ding! Ding! A row of silver light nailed on the wall. Dong! A figure flew out of the door and crashed into the stairs with a loud clang. Creak! The stairs made of pig iron were bent from the impact. Wang Yao chased after him. He did not forget to close the door before leaving. Don't come out. You can still run? Wang Yao was also very surprised by this person's ability. He knew in his heart how powerful his fist and palm techniques were. He had also tried it on Nanshan Hill. He could break the rocks on the mountain with one punch. If it hit a person, it would definitely cause a fracture and internal bleeding. The young man escaped downstairs as if nothing had happened. In fact, the man was not as relaxed as he looked. He was injured and very seriously. It was just that his body was a little special. Woo! The siren was whistling outside. There were already police cars on the way. Because of the vicious incident a few days ago, the police cars were particularly attentive now. They rushed to the scene as soon as a police call was made. It should be known that the provincial and city police were watching this place. If anyone dared to screw up at this time, it was very likely that they would have to move their seat. The young man rushed out of the corridor first. He looked a little embarrassed. There was blood at the corner of his mouth. He shouted after seeing the police. "There is a murderer behind me." Then, Wang Yao rushed out of the corridor. Suddenly, all the police outside were on the alert. One by one, they looked at Wang Yao nervously. "He is the murderer!" Wang Yao naturally heard the young man's words. "Ha ha!" The young man smiled. "That's right. He is the murderer," another voice said. It was Tong Wei, who was worried about Wang Yao. She came downstairs and happened to hear the phone call. At this time, most of the police began to look at the young man. The young man suddenly moved like a ghost. "Be careful!" Thud! A policeman's body went soft and fell to the ground. There was a bloody hole in his chest. "Damn it!" Wang Yao threw a punch. Whoosh! Bang! The young man crashed into a car. The car was smashed out of shape. He kept stuffing something into his mouth. It was a bloody heart. Blurg! Immediately, a policeman began to vomit. Tong Wei's face also became pale. She only felt that something in her stomach was surging up. Wang Yao took a step forward and hit the young man several times. With a crisp sound, the young man directly collapsed to the ground. The police lights were still shining. The criminal who killed 6 people in Lianshan County was arrested. The bones in his limbs were all broken. He was disabled. That night, whether it was the criminal investigation experts from the province or the policemen who had been busy for a few days, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Yao was also invited to the police station for questioning. Tong Wei accompanied him. Soon, he was asked to come out because the police chief on duty recognized him at a glance. He was the young man who had a friendly conversation with the municipal party secretary in Songbai town. "You saw it with your own eyes?" "Of course, I was at the scene." He reached out his hand and took out Lao Li's heart. He also stuffed it into his mouth. "That's enough, you don't have to say any more." There was also a young man who went up and hit him a few times. All the bones in his body were broken. "I heard that the reason why we were able to catch this person this time was all because of this young man." "Really? I didn't expect such a powerful person to exist in our small county." "Yes." After leaving the police station, Wang Yao didn't go home because it was already past 11 p.m. Tong Wei was worried, so he stayed at Tong Wei's house for the night. That night, Tong Wei had a nightmare. She dreamed that she was alone with the scary man in a room. She dreamed that she had nowhere to go. Then, she was awakened by the nightmare. She was covered in cold sweat. In the county hospital, a few armed policemen took turns to be on duty outside a special intensive care unit. Why did that person eat the heart? How would I know? In the ward was a patient who was receiving treatment. "He's really tough. All the bones in his body are broken, but he's still alive. Keep a close eye on him. Don't let him cause any more trouble." The next day, the sun rose as usual. Chapter 251. The next morning, Wang Yao drove Tong Wei back to Dao City. Only the people involved knew the horror of the night. The morning in the small town was still calm and peaceful. In the car, neither of them spoke. The radio was playing some sad school songs. Are you still thinking about what happened last night? Wang Yao asked softly when he saw Tong Wei's expression was not quite right. Yes, Tong Wei replied softly. You'll feel better in a few days. For this kind of shock, some drugs could be used as an auxiliary treatment. Even if no drugs were used, this kind of stimulation would disappear with the passage of time. Wang Yao didn't drive fast. After more than 3 hours, they arrived at Dao City. They went back to Tong Wei's place first. After entering the house, Tong Wei poured a glass of water for Wang Yao. The two of them sat on the sofa and chatted for a while. Let's go out and eat something. Okay. The two of them went out to eat something. Tong Wei's mood had recovered a little. She had a smile on her face. That night really scared her. It was as if she had walked through the gates of hell. Don't go back today? Okay, Wang Yao replied softly. He called home and explained the situation. His parents agreed readily and asked him to stay in Dao City for a while. The next day, Tong Wei would go to the company and then go to France. The two of them would be far apart. Perhaps because of the separation, the two of them didn't talk much. Unknowingly, the sky had darkened. After dinner, the two of them sat on the sofa and watched TV like a couple. Tong Wei leaned her head slightly on Wang Yao's shoulder. With a beauty by his side, the delicate fragrance was pleasant. I really want to stay quietly like this, Tong Wei said softly. Then stay a little longer. The program on TV was not interesting. The two of them leaned on each other quietly. Perhaps, a few decades later, when they had white hair, they would lean on each other like this. Let's stay together, Tong Wei said softly. Huh! Wang Yao was slightly surprised. The night was very beautiful. Before going to bed, Wang Yao prepared a bowl of clear water for Tong Wei. He had dissolved the leaves of the moonlight herb in it, which could calm her nerves. That night, Wang Yao held the beauty in his arms. She was warm and soft. That night, Tong Wei slept exceptionally well because she had a reliable shoulder by her side. She did not have any more nightmares. How great would it be if things could continue like this? Wang Yao thought to himself as he lay on the bed. But good times were always short-lived, and this night would eventually pass. Outside, in the eastern sky, the sun had already risen as usual. Morning! Morning! Tong Wei gently kissed Wang Yao's cheek. Did you sleep well? All right. Tong Wei smiled faintly, as charming as a flower. After breakfast, Wang Yao drove her to the company. Don't go if you don't feel well, Wang Yao said. He could tell that Tong Wei had not fully recovered from the incident that night. He was worried that she would go out in such a state. It's okay. I'm not going alone. Other colleagues will go with me. Okay, Wang Yao responded. After arriving at the company, Tong Wei and her colleagues gathered. Then, they took the company's rented bus and rushed to the airport. Wang Yao drove his own car and followed behind. At the airport, many people came to see them off. They were either parents or couples. Wang Yao and Tong Wei stood in the crowd. They only had eyes for each other. Be careful when you go out. Okay. Call me if you have any problems. Okay. The two of them suddenly felt that they had a lot to say to each other. It was only a month of separation. It was not forever, but they still felt reluctant to part. In the end, Tong Wei walked through the boarding gate and looked back several times. Wang Yao stood outside the glass window and watched the plane take off and rush into the sky. He felt inexplicably melancholy. He drove back to Lianshan County from Dao City. In the hospital of Haik City. Is there any improvement? No. The specific components of the toxin can't be analyzed in a short period of time. There is no specific medicine. We can only try our best to maintain their condition and not let their condition continue to worsen. At this time, the doctors in Haik City Hospital were worried about the condition of the patients who had just been sent to the hospital. They knew that they had been poisoned. Their condition was similar to the condition after being bitten by a poisonous snake. They had tried some medicine, but it was not effective. The leader of the public security department in the city called to ask about this matter. This also made them feel pressured. Organize another meeting later to discuss the treatment plan. I'll arrange it right away. In the hospital of Lianshan County, a doctor was holding a glass bottle. He was puzzled and did not know how to deal with this matter. This morning, when he came out of the on-call room, he accidentally found the bottle and a note with only a few words written on it. Antidote, save the police. After thinking for a while, he went to find his superior. After all, this was not a small matter. He also heard that the 5 people in Hike City were not in a good condition. They were now in a coma and had a low fever that had not subsided. Leave a small part for us to analyze. The rest will be sent to Hike City Hospital immediately. The medicine was quickly sent to Hike City Hospital. The doctors there were also skeptical about it. The result was that the medicine was really effective. The patients who were in a coma woke up in a short period of time. This made the doctors who had been following the treatment very curious. The hospital also immediately analyzed the components of the medicine. No matter what, the 5 of them were out of danger. They could finally breathe a sigh of relief and report to their superiors. In the mountain village, in Wang Yao's home. What? Tong Wei went to France? After hearing this, his mother's eyes widened. She was very surprised. Wang Yao only mentioned this matter briefly. He said that Tong Wei would leave soon, but he did not say where she would go. She did not know until today that her future daughter-in-law actually went to France and would stay there for a month. That's overseas. It's okay, Mom. It's only a month. It's not like she won't come back, Wang Yao said with a smile. Zhang Xiuying sighed and said, Ah, silly son, people's hearts change. Change? Wang Yao smiled. Before going up the mountain, he took 2 more bags of medicinal herbs. There were not many left of the herbs sent by Chen Buiyuan. They were all exchanged for exchange points in the medicine shop. It's almost done. The exchange points were enough to exchange for a dose of everlasting grass and lingshanji, which were used to make muscle revitalization powder. In the detention center of Lianshan County. It was heavily guarded. In less than 3 days, he can get up by himself. Is he still human? The armed police on duty looked at the special prisoner in the special prison cell. Fortunately, the people above will come back today. He, the young man in the prison uniform, laughed. He looked very bright. Why are you smiling so brightly? On Nanshan Hill, Wang Yao asked Wei Hai with a smile. I went to Dao yesterday and had a checkup. My condition is almost recovered, Wei Hai said excitedly. From a person who was about to die vomiting blood to a person who had basically recovered, this was a huge change. The reason for this change was the young man sitting in front of him. If he didn't know Wang Yao and didn't have his help, he might have been a dead man. This is indeed something to be happy about, Wang Yao said. Can I trouble you to take another look? Sure. 2 days ago, Wang Yao had just diagnosed him. He knew the condition of his body. His condition was recovering well, but he was not fully recovered. The examination equipment in the hospital should not be able to see the eggs deep in the liver. Those were the most difficult things to remove. If they were not removed completely, those eggs would be a time bomb. You still have to continue to take the medicine. You can try to increase the dosage, Wang Yao said after thinking for a while. Increase the dosage. I don't have much medicine left. This was the main reason he came here. Wait a minute. Wang Yao boiled the medicine on the spot. The deworming powder required fewer herbs, so it was much easier to boil. Boiling medicine was boring in the eyes of outsiders. Just like now, Wei Hai looked at Wang Yao sitting quietly beside the medicine pot like an old monk in meditation. He only added firewood occasionally and added herbs one by one. After a while, the smell of the medicine wafted out. It took a little more than an hour to boil the medicine. It's done. After Wang Yao packed the medicine, He handed it to Wei Hai. Thank you. Wei Hai was about to leave when another person came up the hill. I saw your car, Wang Mingbao said. Why are you back today? I have something to do. My grandfather is digging graves today, so I came back to help. Digging graves for the old people who were still alive. This was the custom of this area. Is the yard ready to be cleaned? Yes, the procedures are all done, Wang Yao said. Would you like to have lunch at my house? No. Wang Yao waved his hand. Digging graves required an invitation. Of course, lunch was also provided. Such a banquet was generally not attended by outsiders. In the afternoon, Wang Yao went down the hill and continued to clean up the weeds in the yard at the south end of the village. By the evening, more than half of the yard had been cleaned up. In addition to the weeds, there was a lot of garbage in the yard. It's a professional thing. I'd better find a professional to do it. He called Tian Yuantu and told him that he was going to change the house. No problem. I'll take someone there tomorrow, Tian Yuantu said. The main business and profit of Jiahui Group were in the area of real estate. He was a professional in building houses. The next morning, Tian Yuantu drove the company's best professional architect to the mountain village. Wang Yao, who had received the call earlier, was waiting at the entrance of the village. Here. Tian Yuantu looked at the abandoned yard and was a little surprised. Chapter 252. Yes, I've bought this piece of land. I'm going to build a clinic here, Wang Yao said with a smile. Build a clinic in this mountain village? Tian Yuantu was surprised. Yes, I think it's good. All right, then we'll do as you say. You guys measure this place and think of a few suitable plans, Tian Tuyuan said to a few of the company's employees who came along with him. Yes, Director Tian. Professional matters should be left to the professionals. Wang Yao didn't know how to build a house. The place was not very big. The technicians brought by Tian Yuantu quickly finished measuring the entire small courtyard. Is there anything else? No. Then, we'll go back first. Why don't you stay for dinner? No thanks. I've told my wife that I'll go back for dinner. Bye. Take care. The car gradually went away. Wang Yao also went up Nanshan Hill. He prepared the herbs needed to decoct muscle revitalization powder on the hill. He only needed to wait for the weather to be suitable to decoct it. In Lianshan County, there were 2 men from other places. The news is a bit late. I didn't expect that there would be someone in this small county who could hurt him. I'm afraid that the people above have already known his true identity. We have to hurry up. Think about it again. He's under heavy surveillance now. There are armed police everywhere. We can't sneak in. We can't get in, but something can. That day, strange things happened in the hospital in Lianshan County. There was a sudden power outage on a certain floor. Several armed police, who were carrying out special tasks, suddenly fell unconscious on the ground, causing a panic. The important suspect they were guarding was also attacked, but he was not seriously injured. The armed police recovered quickly. What happened? We're investigating, but the suspect is still there. That's good. Hearing the news, the director of the Public Security Bureau was relieved. They took action? Yes. It was a transparent bottle filled with blood-red liquid. It was very dazzling under the sun. How should we go? By the way, where is the person who can suppress him? Shouldn't we ask around? Forget it. The less trouble, the better. When some people come, we won't be able to leave. All right. Some saw the police cars and armed police patrolling day and night, but no one saw the secret confrontation. But no matter what, the small town had returned to its former tranquility, which was what the people in this small town needed and desired. On Nanshan Hill, the wind was gentle and the clouds were calm. Everlasting grass. Lingshanji. Wang Yao had already prepared the 2 herbs. He could decoct the muscle revitalization powder now. San Xian watched the door. Woof, woof. After hearing Wang Yao's instructions, the dog came out of the kennel and stood outside to patrol the herbal field. Mountain firewood, ancient spring water, the multifunctional pot for herbs. Several herbs were added in one by one, and a medicinal fragrance spread out. This was his second time brewing this medicine. There were some details that he didn't notice the last time he brewed it, but this time, he made some improvements. The color of the decoction gradually changed. Ling Shanji dispelled evil, and evil grew muscles and stopped pain. After the licorice roots were added, the decoction immediately changed. It became sticky like porridge. This was the extraordinary part of the licorice root. Once it was added, it immediately played a role that ordinary herbs couldn't replace. This was also the reason why Wang Yao had tried to brew a decoction similar to the muscle revitalization powder by using several kinds of ordinary herbs with similar medicinal properties to the two herbs. However, he didn't succeed. Everlasting grass calmed the 5 internal organs and made up for loss. After the licorice roots were added, the color of the decoction immediately changed. It became emerald green like a melted jade. It was very beautiful. It changed. Wang Yao didn't relax at all. Even with the magical support of the multifunctional pot for herbs, even if he had taken 99 steps and was only missing the last step, this decoction still had the possibility of failure. As the saying went, one who had traveled 100 miles was halfway to success. Estimating that it was almost done, Wang Yao took the multifunctional pot for herbs away from the flame. This decoction of the muscle revitalization powder should be done. Wang Yao stretched out his hand and took out a little from the multifunctional pot for herbs. The ointment was obviously warm, but it made people feel a special cool feeling. It directly penetrated the skin and went deep into the body. This decoction is really magical. Although Wang Yao had seen it before, he couldn't help but praise it in his heart. The decoction was still divided into 2 bottles. After the decoction was done, the sky had already darkened. In June, it was the time when the daytime was the longest. Wang Yao went down Nanshan Hill in the evening. In fact, half of the sky was dyed red like fire. When Wang Yao returned home, he heard his parents discussing something. "Should we let Yao go and have a look? Why should we let him go?" After entering the house, Wang Yao asked with a smile, "Dad, Mom, what are you discussing? Didn't your uncle resign from his original unit? He wants to open a barbecue restaurant, but the business is not good and the rent is expensive. He came to our house in the afternoon and complained about it," Zhang Xiuying said. Just now, Wang Yao's uncle did come to complain. His purpose was simple. He wanted to ask his eldest brother to arrange a job for him. His third brother had already gone to Jiaowei Group. His work was not heavy. He could earn 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month. In this small town, this income was considered good. He worked himself to death all day long, but he didn't earn a single cent. Instead, he lost more than 30,000 yuan. The comparison made him feel very unbalanced. Wang Yao's mother had a lot of opinions about such relatives in her heart. When her family was in trouble, these people didn't come forward to help. When her family was in trouble, these people came one by one. It was as if her family was very capable. "What does my uncle think?" Wang Yao was silent for a moment. He really didn't want to care about this matter. Last time, he helped his third uncle find a job. As a result, his third uncle got a place in the unit. Now, his third uncle came again. However, he couldn't ignore it. After all, he was his family's relative. "He wants to find a place and do some work," Wang Yao's father said. "Why does it sound like our family is the county government? You can arrange it with just a few words?" Zhang Xiuying was a little angry. "Can I find some time to help ask?" Wang Yao didn't want to put his father in a difficult position. That sentence ended the conversation. Then, he helped his mother to the kitchen to prepare dinner. "Mom, don't be angry." "How can I not be angry? If you have any problems, go to your dad. Is your dad the county magistrate? Zhang Xiuying was obviously still angry. Oh, it's not a big deal. It was not too difficult to arrange a job for him with his current connections. However, he didn't want to bother Tian Yuantu anymore. I'll go to the city tomorrow. When the family was eating, suddenly there was a knock on the door outside. It sounded a little urgent. After the door was opened, the neighbor in the front room came in. She was a woman in her 40s. Aunt, what's wrong? I need your help with something urgent. The woman's expression was a little awkward. Aunt, if you have any problems, just tell us. We will help you if we can, Zhang Xiuying said. Can I borrow some money? Borrow money? Zhang Xiuying was stunned. How much? 10,000 yuan. Wait a minute. I'll go in and get it for you, Zhang Xiuying said and went into the house to get the money. There was a small amount of money at home. It was the money that Wang Yao left at home when he went to the city. Otherwise, the family wouldn't have so much money. Did something happen at home? Zhang Xiuying took out the money and handed it to the middle-aged woman. Feng Xiang is sick. He was just hospitalized this afternoon. It will cost a lot of money. The family's money has been lent to his second uncle, the middle-aged woman said. The relationship between the front and back rooms in the village was generally good. Whoever had any problems would take the initiative to help. For example, the couple living in front of their house had a good reputation in the village. They had some contacts on weekdays. Thank you. The middle-aged woman took the money and said. She didn't expect the other party to lend her money so readily. In today's society, once money was involved, even if it was her own brother, it was possible to immediately turn hostile, let alone a neighbor like her. Hey, if you need any help, just tell us. We will try our best to help. Okay. The woman expressed her simple gratitude and left. Chapter 253. Is Uncle Fengxiang sick? Wang Yao asked. Yes, he fainted at home in the afternoon and rushed to the hospital. It's an urgent illness, Zhang Xiuying said. Yes, Wang Yao replied. 2 days ago, he had seen the middle-aged man on the hill. He was strong and had a smile on his face. He looked quite healthy. Of course, he only saw him from afar and did not see him up close. I'll go and see him when he comes back. That day on Nanshan Hill, the middle-aged man had helped put out the fire. Wang Yao remembered this kindness. Okay. After dinner, Wang Yao went back to Nanshan Hill. In the county hospital in Lianshan County. He Xiuhua, who had just come from home, sat in the corridor and cried alone. You have to be mentally prepared. The patient's condition is quite serious. The doctor did not say to what extent he could recover. It was completely dependent on personal exercise. Her husband had cerebral thrombosis. Without the slightest sign, he fell to the ground. In today's society, cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases covered more and more people. Some young people in their 20s would get this disease. It was almost impossible in the past. However, this disease was not easy to treat and the onset was urgent. Most people nowadays did not have the awareness of going to the hospital early if you are not feeling well. Therefore, they did not pay attention to the symptoms on normal days. Once the disease occurred, it was often an emergency. A man in his 40s was in the prime of his life. He was the pillar of the family. If he fell, the family would collapse. What should I do? She could not cry in front of her husband. She did not dare to tell him the truth. She was afraid that he would have other ideas. At this time, few relatives came forward to help. As the saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed. At night, the corridor was quiet. A woman sobbed softly. However, a family member who accompanied her in the same ward came to persuade her to take it easy. In the hospital, time passed very slowly. It was unbearable. The next morning, the weather was a little gloomy and the air was a little stuffy. It could not be felt on the hill. In the herbal field, a vine, which was as thick as a pen lead, was coiled up along the trunk of a chestnut tree. It was the licorice root. Good growth, Wang Yao said with a smile. At about 10 o'clock in the morning, a car came to the mountain village and stopped at the south end of the village. 3 people got out of the car. 2 of them were middle-aged men and 1 was an old man. They were wearing sunglasses and holding crutches. They needed someone to help them walk. Master, it's in front. The man leading the way was He Qixing. The mountain path was a little rugged. After going around a mountain, Nanshan Hill stood in front of them. The old man stood in place and raised his head to look at the mountain. The vegetation on the mountain was not luxuriant, but there was a large patch halfway up the mountain. Those were the trees that Wang Yao had planted to set up the formation. Now they had all grown up. Under the dual effects of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and the ancient spring water, they were thriving. This mountain has a spirit. The old man's voice was hoarse like an old bellows. He Qixing said, Master, should I go up and say something? No, let's go up directly, the old man said directly. He Qixing's brows furrowed slightly. The 3 of them slowly went up the mountain. There were barking sounds coming from the mountain. Someone is here? Wang Yao walked out of the cottage. After a while, the 3 of them appeared outside the herbal field. The first one was He Qixing. Behind him was a middle-aged man who was supporting an old man. Dr. Wang. Brother He? Wang Yao looked at the 2 people behind him. He Qixing came a little suddenly. If he had come before, he would have called him in advance. This is my teacher. He pointed at the old man behind him. Illusion formation? The old man looked at the saplings in front of him. They had grown to the size of a baby's wrist. Wang Yao was a little surprised. The old man was actually an expert. Why did He Qixing bring him here? Young man, who is your teacher? The old man asked. His breathing was uneven, his voice was not steady, and his life was like a candle in the wind. This was an old man who did not have long to live. In short, Wang Yao had already come to a conclusion. I learned from a god in heaven, Wang Yao said with a smile. Ha ha. The old man laughed twice and then walked forward 2 steps. He looked at the surrounding trees closely. This comfortable feeling is not bad. It's a spirit-gathering array. In fact, what was spirit? It was something that could not be accurately described, but it could be understood as something that could not be seen or touched. It was something that made people feel comfortable and was beneficial to the human body. Young man, can I go in and have a look? Sorry, Wang Yao refused directly. The old man looked like an expert. If he also knew about herbs, the licorice roots in the herbal field would be troublesome. The value of these things was immeasurable for people who needed them. After listening to Wang Yao's words, the atmosphere became very awkward. Young man, I'm just going to take a look. Don't be so nervous. Then let's take a look outside? Wang Yao pointed at the mountain. The old man did not say anything. He then turned around and walked around the mountain with difficulty. Teacher, do you want me to talk to him again? He Qixing asked. No need. The old man's tone was a little cold. The wind on the mountain was cool, but the dark clouds in the sky were pierced by the sun. It was still a little hot, but the old man insisted on walking to the end. If it's like this outside, it must be even stronger inside the array, the old man thought. This small mountain was like a paradise in novels. Living here for a long time would definitely have a positive effect on one's health. It could even prolong one's life. This array, it must be. No one knew what the old man was thinking. However, He Qixing could guess a thing or two. He realized that he should not have brought the old man here. His original idea was to bring his teacher here to have a look. With his ability, he might be able to copy it. However, he did not know that the knowledge of this array was abnormally mysterious. It was not something that could be learned just by looking. Instead, It aroused the old man's desire deep in his heart. The old man left, but Qixing stayed. He quickly went up the mountain and explained the situation to Wang Yao. He did not betray his teacher. He was a rational person. He brought his teacher here with good intentions, but his teacher had bad thoughts. He knew Wang Yao's ability and the connections he had accumulated. If he was like this now, he would only be stronger in the future. It was better to provoke an old man than to bully a poor young man. Most of them understood this logic. Wang Yao's face became dignified after hearing it. Qixing's teacher's identity was a little special. He could say something in front of those influential people in the capital. Sometimes, a word from him could cause big trouble. Wang Yao hesitated for a moment and then picked up the phone. "You owe me a promise." It was a woman on the other side of the phone, a woman in her prime. "It's not me. It's the Guo family. Not one, but two." Guosairu would never go back on what she had promised. This was the awareness and confidence of a rich family. Someone has set his eyes on this mountain and wants the thing on the mountain. Wang Yao explained the whole thing in a few simple words. On the other end of the phone, Guosairu's face turned pale. She knew who the old man Wang Yao mentioned was. In fact, the Guo family and the old man were friends. He had done some things for the Guo family. "I'll deal with it right away," Guosairu replied. Then, she first called her father and then went to see her grandfather. The old man's health was getting worse, but his mind was still clear. "Huang Qifa?" "Yes. He's an old man with one foot in the grave. What else does he want?" Guosairu had the same doubts. The old man said a few words to the middle-aged man beside him. He immediately went to deal with it. This matter was more or less settled. "Communicate with that young man more." "Yes, Grandpa." The next day, a visitor came to the old man's courtyard. It was an old man who needed someone to help him walk. It was the old man who had just gone up Nanshan Hill yesterday. "Sir." "Qifa, did you go out yesterday?" "Yes, I went out for a while." "You're already so old. Don't rush around," the old man said. "I saw a mountain and saw a person," Huang Qifa said. "If I lived on that mountain, I could live 2 more years. His voice was hoarse. Chapter 254. His words were like a clap of thunder. The old man sitting in the rattan chair suddenly opened his eyes. What was most precious to him now? Power and money were no longer important. The most important thing was to live. Living for 2 more months was an extravagant hope, let alone 2 more years. It's just a small mountain. Is it a blessed place? The mountain is not high, but it has spirit. What do you want to do? Move the mountain to Jing? The old man asked with a smile. He was weak. I can't move the mountain, but I can go, Huang Qifa said after taking a deep breath. Ha ha! Guosairu's grandfather laughed. You are old but not old at heart. He waved his hand and didn't say anything else. Huang Qifa stood up and slowly left the small courtyard with the help of the people around him. He has lost his mind. He is going crazy, the old man said. Huang Qifa returned home in the car. Next to him was his student who had accompanied him for many years. He had already treated him as half a son. I am in a treasure mountain, but I don't know, he said with difficulty. No one knew better than him the importance of the mountain and the battle array he saw yesterday. Given his condition, if he lived there, he could live for a while longer. As for how long, it would depend on the actual situation. Buzz. His phone vibrated. The student next to him picked it up and looked at it, then put it in his pocket. The car arrived at its destination. It was an antique detached villa. The middle-aged man got out of the car first and opened the door. He helped the old man get out of the car. The old man's body suddenly stiffened. Then, he staggered. The student next to him hurriedly supported him. Who is it? The old man looked at the student next to him in shock. Teacher, you are too tired. You need to rest. Well, okay, the old man said a few times. Then, his body went limp. The middle-aged man hurriedly took out the first-aid medicine he carried with him. The ambulance arrived quickly, but everything was in vain. The old man had passed away. Everything disappeared with the wind like smoke. Wang Yao didn't know that the problem he was worried about was solved just like that. As the saying goes, heaven helps the worthy. Grandpa, old Master Huang passed away on his way home, Guosairu said to the old man who was resting on a chair in the courtyard. Yes, I'm already so old. I should be content with what I have, the old man replied. The old man opened his eyes and looked at his granddaughter sitting beside him. His gaze was kind and benevolent. Then, he looked up at the sky. How tempting was it to live for 2 more years? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted. To be able to reach such a position, the most frightening thing about him was not his outstanding ability, but his temperament. Even if there were thousands of temptations, he would cut them off with a single slash. That Wang Yao is not bad, the old man suddenly said. Huh! Guosairu was stunned. She didn't understand why her grandfather said that. Beijing's Su family. Amazing! Old Chen exclaimed. On the hospital bed, Su Xiaoshua's body was wrapped in gauze, but there was only a thin layer on her arms. After using the medicine, more than half of the ulcers in her body began to heal. The dead skin tissue fell off and was replaced by new tissue. This was a painful rebirth, a metamorphosis from a cocoon. The next time he saw that young man, what kind of surprise would he bring? On Nanshan Hill, the mountain breeze was gentle. Wang Yao sat in front of the cottage, leaning against the wall and looking at the sky in a daze. If I go to Beijing again, what kind of effect will I have after the 3rd treatment? The skin tissue of the whole body will return to normal, the toxins in the body will be removed, and the organs will be properly restored. Then, what will happen? Wang Yao was thinking. Should I refine another type of pill? Such a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. He looked at the dozens of licorice roots in the herbal field. Let's wait a little longer. He forcibly suppressed this thought that was growing stronger and stronger. The 3 methods of diagnosis, medicine, and massage. It would be better if he knew acupuncture, Wang Yao thought. He opened the system panel. His experience bar had been filled by more than half. In addition to doing tasks, he had also gained a lot of experience by treating patients and making medicine. When it was close to evening, he took back a few of the bamboo baskets near the hut. Inside the bamboo baskets were some of the medicinal herbs that he had dried. In order to be able to be stored for a long time, most Chinese herbs needed to be processed. Some needed to be dried, some needed to be stir-fried, and some needed to be dried in the shade. When he was about to go down the hill, Wang Yao received a call. It was a call from Pan Jun, who asked if he was free the next day. He wanted to invite him to see a strange patient. Wang Yao thought about it and agreed. He made an appointment. The next day, Wang Yao arrived at Pan Mei's clinic after 9 a.m. Pan Jun had been waiting there. He had a case in his hand. This is the patient's condition. Skin disease? Wang Yao took it and read it carefully. Yes. A considerable number of skin diseases were contagious and difficult to treat. This patient's skin disease was a bit special. It was like fish scales. I've made an appointment. He'll be here soon. Okay. The two chatted for a while. The person Pan Jun mentioned came. He was a man in his 30s. He had a medium build and was slightly thin. Even though it was a hot day, he was wearing a long-sleeved shirt. The lower cuffs were still buttoned. His right hand was wrapped in bandages. Pan Jun, is this the doctor you mentioned? The man obviously knew Pan Jun. He was surprised to see Wang Yao. He had been to more than one hospital for his disease. Even the Dermatology Prevention and Treatment Center in the provincial capital couldn't do anything about it. They just barely suppressed it and didn't continue to spread. He was about to take time to go to Beijing. If Pan Jun hadn't told him that he had a doctor with extraordinary medical skills and asked him to come, he wouldn't have come. Yes, Dr. Wang is young, but his medical skills are extraordinary. Dr. Wang, this is my classmate, Li Ming. Hello. Hello. Let me see your disease. Okay. Li Ming untied the bandage on his right hand and exposed his palm. The back of his hand was covered with special purple-red scales. They were like snake scales. They covered half of the back of his hand. It looked a bit scary. Wang Yao checked his pulse. However, he put a piece of cloth on his wrist instead of touching his skin directly. After all, Wang Yao wasn't sure if his disease was contagious. After the diagnosis, Wang Yao looked up at the man in front of him. Why is his disease similar to Wei Hai's? How is it, Dr. Wang? Pan Jun asked softly when he saw Wang Yao in a daze. Do you usually eat snake meat? Wang Yao suddenly asked such a question. Yes. Li Ming was stunned. How did you know? He asked in surprise. He did like snake meat. He fell in love with the taste since the first time he tasted it. However, snake meat was rare in the north. Most restaurants didn't provide this delicacy. Therefore, he didn't like to eat too much of it. Even his classmate Pan Jun didn't know about this special hobby. He didn't expect this young doctor to know about it. Is this really the case? Wang Yao shook his head with a smile. What a coincidence! What a coincidence! Wei Hai was infected with the terrible parasite because he ate raw fish. The man in front of him was also infected with the parasite because he liked to eat snake meat. Wang Yao's diagnosis was the same. There was a foreign body in his body. It was a poisonous insect. This could be understood as God's punishment for human beings. Everything had a spirit. Eating had to be done in moderation. It's a parasite in the snake meat, Wang Yao said. How should I treat it? Li Ming asked. I can make a medicine for you. Take it and see the effect, Wang Yao said. Okay, I'll have to trouble you, Li Ming said. Wang Yao prescribed a medicine, but it lacked a very special herb. Miasma grass, which could eliminate poisonous insect. He temporarily replaced it with another herb. The effect would depend on the patient's consumption. Find a room to get the medicine. He wrote the prescription and handed it to Pan Jun. Okay. Pan Jun took the prescription and went to get the medicine. The composition of the prescription was very simple. It didn't take long for Pan Jun to get it. Logically speaking, not to mention the hospital in the provincial capital, even the hospital in the city should be able to diagnose this disease. Wang Yao looked at the middle-aged man sitting in front of him. Could it be that he's still hiding something? Chapter 255. What's wrong, Dr. Wang? Li Ming asked after noticing that Wang Yao was looking at him strangely. Did none of the hospitals know the cause of your illness? Wang Yao asked. What? Li Ming was stunned. In fact, the hospitals in the city knew the cause of his illness and prescribed him some medicine. However, the effect of the medicine was not particularly good, so he did not insist on taking it. He went to the provincial hospital, and the medicine prescribed by the provincial hospital was similar. He did not insist on taking it. Instead, he did some superstitious things. As a result, his illness got worse. Of course, he could not tell Wang Yao about this. Yes, they did and prescribed some medicine, but the effect was not particularly good, Li Ming said. Okay. Wang Yao nodded. He could see that Li Ming was not telling the truth, but he did not point it out. His body was his. If he did not tell the truth, there was nothing he could do. Take the medicine according to the prescription. After a course of treatment, there should be an effect, Wang Yao said. He could not use miasma grass, at least not now. Therefore, he used several other traditional Chinese medicines instead, such as baibu and wudong. There was definitely an effect, but the process was slower. His illness was less serious than Wei Hai's. System, is this considered a hard-to-treat disease? Wang Yao asked. No. This was the system's answer. Sure enough, diseases that could be treated with ordinary herbs were not in the list of hard-to-treat diseases. After staying for a while, Li Ming left. Pan Jun came to Wang Yao's side. How is my friend's illness? He does have an illness, and it should have been diagnosed a long time ago, but he did not insist on taking medicine, so his illness is getting worse, Wang Yao said. He did not take medicine? Well, this is my speculation. You should persuade your friend to correct his attitude towards treatment. Okay. In the morning, in addition to Li Ming, Wang Yao also saw 2 patients. They both had common illnesses. Wang Yao prescribed medicine for each of them. It was 11 in the morning. It's noon. Let's have lunch together. Okay, I'll call 2 friends. Wang Yao then invited Wang Mingbao and the others to get to know each other and increase their network. In the afternoon, when Wang Yao was about to drive home, he received a call from Tian Yuantu, saying that there was a guest. It was the famous university professor that he had met last time. He just happened to hear that Wang Yao wanted to build a house and needed to design it. The professor actually offered to help. It should be known that the professor was a master in the field of architectural design. Usually, ordinary people couldn't invite him even if they wanted to. The reason why he offered to help this time was to thank Wang Yao for treating his illness last time. Alright, I'll be there in a bit. Later, Wang Yao drove to Tian Yuantu's place and met the professor. When he saw Wang Yao again, the professor was very enthusiastic and kept thanking him. Wang Yao's medicine was magical. It cured his old illness that had not been completely cured for many years and saved him from the pain of illness. Professor Lu wants to see your small courtyard, Tian Yuantu said. Okay, let's go and have a look. So, they drove 2 cars to the mountain village where Wang Yao lived. The project in the mountain village was a project that connected all the villages. The cement road was a one-way road. If one knew how to drive, one would need to be skilled. Therefore, they didn't walk very fast. After getting off the asphalt road and walking for another 10 minutes, they arrived at the mountain village where Wang Yao lived. The mountain village was sandwiched between the mountains. The car went straight to the south of the village and stopped. They got out of the car and saw the courtyard on the east side of the road. The 2 acacia trees were very lush, but the courtyard was a bit dilapidated. Here. Yes, here it is. Wang Yao reached out and opened the iron lock of the courtyard door. They went in. The weeds were still piled up in the corner. Several tiled houses were already crumbling. It was an indescribable dilapidated scene. You want to open a medical center here? Professor Lu asked curiously. Nowadays, very few people use the term medical center. They were more used to using the term clinic. Yes. Wang Yao nodded with a smile. Open a medical center in this ravine? Professor Lu looked at the young man in front of him. He had already experienced the road on the way here. It was a typical example of inconvenient transportation. Moreover, if Wang Yao wanted to open a medical center at such a young age, even if he opened a medical center in the city, people might not necessarily come, let alone in this ravine. I really don't know what this young man is thinking. Although he had doubts in his heart, the professor still walked around the small courtyard and then looked from the outside. Director Tian, are the measurements you gave me last time accurate? Yes. Good. Dr. Wang, how many floors do you want to build? 1 floor, Wang Yao said. Now, the entire mountain village was full of big tiled houses. He didn't want to make it too unique. Moreover, he was not very interested in villas. He preferred traditional buildings, such as Sihiyuan. I see, Professor Lu said. I heard from Director Tian that you also rented a mountain. Can I go up and have a look? Professor Lu asked with a smile. No problem. Wang Yao led the way in front. The 3 of them went along the mountain road to Nanshan Hill. The mountain road was quite rugged and the weather was a little hot. However, Professor Lu was quite excited. After bypassing a mountain, Nanshan Hill appeared in front of them. That's Nanshan Hill. Wang Yao raised his hand and pointed. A mountain stood there with trees on the mountain. A small cottage could be vaguely seen. The three of them went up the mountain. San Xian came out of the kennel and stared at the unfamiliar Professor Lu. San Xian, this is a guest, Wang Yao said to San Xian. Phew, the mountain breeze here is very cool. This was the first feeling Professor Lu had when he came up. In fact, he had already entered the spirit-gathering battle array. When he went up the mountain, he was sweating. After all, it was June. After going up the mountain and being blown by the cool mountain breeze, he felt much more comfortable. Would you like to have a cup of tea? Wang Yao invited them into the cottage. Professor Lu, what kind of tea do you want to drink? He has a lot of good tea here. Tian Yuantu said with a smile. Is that so? Professor Lu looked at the place where Tian Yuantu was pointing. As expected, he saw a lot of good tea on the table. Chiman black tea, West Lake Longjing tea, Wui rock tea, Dongting Biluakun tea. I didn't expect Dr. Wang to be a person who likes tea. Not really. I just like to drink tea, Wang Yao said. Do you still have the tea I drank at Director Tian's place last time? Yes. Wang Yao smiled and took out the tea he took from Nanshan Hill. It was hand-fried by Su Maosheng. He then made a pot of ancient spring water. The fragrance of the tea immediately floated out. It smells so good. Before drinking the tea, the fragrance of the tea had already assailed their nostrils. The tea had a light green color. The color of the tea was pleasing to the eye. The taste was mellow and the fragrance was high. Top-grade tea. Dr. Wang. Hey, don't call me doctor. It's not very smooth. Can I call you brother? Professor Lu said with a smile. Yes, of course, Wang Yao said with a smile. In fact, Professor Lu's age was about the same as his father's. I'm a little envious of you. You can drink the top-grade tea and read a few books on the mountain. This is the life of Tao Yuanming. Professor Lu said with some emotion. Now, he vaguely guessed why Wang Yao opened his clinic in a small mountain village. He didn't like the hustle and bustle of the city. He sat on the mountain for half an hour and drank a few cups of tea. Professor Lu felt very comfortable. His physical tiredness was swept away. His spirit was also very relaxed. This feeling was the same as the feeling after staying for a few nights on the famous Taoist mountain of Wudong. I'm a little reluctant to leave, Professor Lu said with a smile. Although he said that, he still had to go down the mountain. He hadn't gone down the mountain. When he had just arrived at the foot of the mountain wind was not so cool. It was a little dry and hot. The mountainside and the foot of the mountain, 2 levels of heaven. After seeing off Tian Yuantu and Professor Lu, Wang Yao didn't follow them back to Lianshan County. Before leaving, Professor Lu had promised to come up with a design plan as soon as possible. Friends are here? Zhang Xiuying asked when they arrived home. Yes, Tian Yuantu and a university professor. A university professor? What is he doing here? Zhang Xiuying asked curiously. I want to build a clinic on the land I bought. He happens to be a consultant for Brother Tian's real estate company, so I asked him to come over and have a look, Wang Yao said. Well, okay. Zhang Xiuying smiled. In their opinion, university professors were very knowledgeable people. The design they came up with must be good. Chapter 256. Wang Yao was not in a hurry to go up the hill. He stayed at home to help his mother prepare dinner. Your Uncle Fengxiang in the front room is very sick, Zhang Xiuying said while cooking. Have you and Dad been there? Asked Wang Yao. Yes, I went to see him in the morning. My wife said the best result was hemiplegia. He might not even be able to stand up, said Zhang Xiuying. He looked fine on normal days. How could he fall down so easily? She sighed. He will get better, Wang Yao said. During dinner, Wang Yao's parents talked about it again. Well, I'll go and see him tomorrow, Wang Yao said after thinking for a while. Can you cure this disease? Asked Wang Fenghua. I have to see him first, Wang Yao said. If it was just an ordinary thrombosis, he was confident. The blood deblocking powder could promote blood circulation and dredge the channels and collaterals. In fact, he did not need this medicine. Even if he boiled water with Ziyu, he could achieve the purpose of promoting blood circulation and dredging depression. If it was other diseases, he would have to think about it again. Okay, let's go and see him, Wang Fenghua said. Nothing happened that night. The next morning, after Wang Yao finished practicing, he went down the hill. He told his family and asked for the location of Wang Fengxiang's ward. He then drove to Lianshan County. After buying some things in the mall, he went directly to the county hospital. Soon, he found the ward where Wang Fengxiang was. His wife was inside. Uncle, Auntie. Yao, why are you here? He Xiuhua was surprised to see Wang Yao. His parents had just come to see him yesterday. His son came again. Not to mention that the two families were just front and back rooms. Even if they were relatives, they were not so different. Moreover, he did not hesitate to borrow money. Is my uncle better? Yes. He Xiuhua nodded. In fact, after a few days of injections, the patient's condition did not improve at all. He could feel the right side of his body, but he could not move. The doctor's explanation was that the thrombosis in the brain pressed the nerves in the brain and could not transmit motor command. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Wang Yao was thinking about how to start the conversation. If he wanted to treat Wang Fengxiang, he had to first diagnose him and feel his pulse. Auntie, I also know some medical skills. Why don't you take a look at Uncle? Wang Yao asked He Xiuhua softly. He Xiuhua was stunned. Okay. She nodded almost subconsciously. Although he didn't know when this promising young man in the village learned medical skills, the other party couldn't have bought something to trick him, right? Wang Yao put his hand on her and tested her. Sure enough, his meridians were blocked. He could cure this illness. He looked at the middle-aged man lying on the bed. That day, after putting out the fire on the mountain, he had also invited this uncle to a banquet at home. At that time, the middle-aged man had a good tolerance for alcohol and drank 3 glasses of wine. In just a few days, he was lying on the bed. Sometimes life was so fragile. How is it? He Xiuhua asked. It's a thrombosis. It hasn't dissolved yet, Wang Yao said. In fact, once the thrombosis formed, it would be very difficult to dissolve it. It was like a blocked sewer. It was almost impossible to flush it out with water unless there was a force from the outside. What if I know acupuncture treatment? Such an idea suddenly came into Wang Yao's mind. Perhaps it can be opened without the use of drugs, or with a different kind of drug. At this moment, he felt that he had to find a way to move forward as soon as possible. What did the doctor say? Wang Yao said. He will let us leave the hospital after 3 more days of injections, He Xiuhua said. 3 days? Wang Yao looked at Wang Fengxiang, who was lying on the hospital bed. With his current condition, it would be good if he could recover in 30 days, let alone 3 days. Wang Yao raised his head and looked at the medicine Wang Fengxiang was taking. He didn't know much about Western medicine, so he thought he was using ordinary thrombolytic drugs. These drugs actually had considerable side effects. They could play a role in thrombolytic, but at the same time, they would make the blood vessel wall fragile. Then, after my uncle is discharged, I will go to your house to see him, Wang Yao said. He Xiuhua didn't know what Wang Yao saw. She didn't understand, so she just responded. After staying in the hospital for a while, Wang Yao left and drove straight home. Seeing her son come back, Zhang Xiuying asked, How is it? I can cure Uncle Fengxiang's disease, But I have to wait for him to come back, Wang Yao said. He needed some special drugs. With his current ability, the disease couldn't be cured without licorice root. However, he couldn't use them in the hospital. He could only wait for him to leave the hospital. Fortunately, there shouldn't be any big accidents in the next 3 days. That's good. After having lunch at home, Wang Yao went to Nanshan Hill. In the afternoon, 2 more people went to Nanshan Hill. It was Zhou Xiong and his son from Sangzhou. They came to Lianshan County. When did you come here? A day ago. I just settled down, Zhou Xiong said. I have some local products for you to eat. Thank you. Wang Yao brought them all the way here. He didn't want to refuse. Let me take a look. Okay. After hearing that, Zhou Wukong hurriedly unbuttoned his sleeve and exposed his arm. It was different from the last time they separated. This time, the skin on his arm was obviously smoother. This was obviously a good sign. Then, Wang Yao checked his pulse. A few of the channels and collaterals on his arm had been dredged. Some of the blood had been flowing smoothly. Have you used up the medicine? Yes, I have used it all up, Zhou Xiong said. In fact, the medicine Wang Yao gave him had been used up. He asked Mr. Sang to treat his son with acupuncture in Sangzhou. Then, he came to Lianshan County. Well, you are recovering well. I will decoct another dose of medicine for you. Okay. The father and son stayed on the mountain for a while. Wang Yao also used massage to dredge his channels and collaterals. The whole process took more than an hour. He didn't stop until his whole arm was red. Go back and have a good rest. I will let you know when the medicine is ready. Okay, we will go back first. Wang Yao walked them out of the herbal field and returned to the room. Wei Hai's illness is almost cured. Zhou Wukong's illness is also starting to get better. The illness of Secretary Yang's mother should be almost cured with a few more doses of medicine. In this way, the task has finally taken a big step forward. Wang Yao thought to himself. 10 cases of difficult and complicated diseases. It was difficult to find the disease, let alone treat it. I can't rush it. In the evening, he prepared some more herbs to decoct a dose of blood deblicking powder the next day. The herbs he had were only enough for 1 dose. I am still too poor. He sighed. That night, the wind outside was a bit strong. The next day, the sun in the sky rose early in the sky. It made people dizzy. It was cool and pleasant in the cottage. There was a thermometer hanging on the wall. It showed that it was only about 20 degrees. Wang Yao was holding a cattail leaf fan and decocting the medicine. Above the flame, in the multifunctional pot for herbs, the medicine was slightly boiling. The fragrance of the medicine drifted out. He added firewood from time to time. There was a cup of tea next to him. It was next to the flame. He needed to drink more water. In the morning, he successfully decocted the medicine. Not bad. He divided the medicine into 2 portions. 1 portion was for Zhou Wukong, and the other portion was for Su Xiaoxue in Jing. At noon, he didn't want to go down the mountain, but he heard someone shouting for help at the foot of the mountain. He looked outside and saw a group of people around the small reservoir at the foot of Nanshan Hill. Someone fell into the water. Wang Yao immediately realized. He couldn't help but think of his experience. It was because of that rescue that the trajectory of his life changed. Let's go down and have a look. Without any hesitation, he went down the mountain. The reservoir was not big. It was in the northeast corner of Nanshan Hill. It was used by the village to water the farmland. In the past, when the weather was hot, the villagers would come here to take a bath. However, since someone drowned a few years ago, no one came here again. Today, for some reason, someone came to take a bath again. There were many people around the reservoir. Several men who were good at swimming had already gone into the water to save the person. Wang Yao came to the shore and looked at the reservoir. After a while, a man jumped out of the water. He was dragging another person in his hand. I found him. The people in the water hurried to help. They carried the drowned person to the shore. The drowned person was a teenager. Take him to the hospital. Wait. Wang Yao went forward and tried. Pulse and heartbeat. Chapter 257. He can still be saved, Wang Yao said. What? Wang Yao didn't explain. He pulled the boy out of the water and began to resuscitate him. The first thing he needed to do was to recover his ability to wash and control the water. After a tense first aid session, with a cry, the boy spat out a lot of water. His chest heaved up and down. He's saved. He's saved. The nearby villagers were surprised. Wang Yao looked at the boy carefully. He didn't get up until he was sure the boy's life was not in danger for the time being. Call an ambulance and send him to the hospital, Wang Yao said. Although the boy's life was temporarily out of danger, he still needed to receive further treatment and recovery. These things were not something Wang Yao could do. In other words, it was not suitable for him to do it. Well done, Yao, you actually know how to do this, Wang Yao said. I know a little. Wang Yao left with a smile and went back to Nanshan Hill. The ambulance couldn't drive to Nanshan Hill. Even if it was in the mountain village, it would take some time to get there. Therefore, someone rode a motorcycle to take the boy back to the village and then to the hospital in town. Because of the timely rescue, the boy only needed to receive some recovery treatment. Fortunately, you rescued him in time, the doctor said. In the afternoon, the family went to Wang Yao's home with gifts to express their gratitude to Wang Yao. Zhang Xiuying was also surprised. Did Yao save someone outside? Zhang Xiuying asked. Yes, sister-in-law, if it weren't for him, Jing would have been in danger, Zhang Xiuying said. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xiuying figured out the whole story. She didn't say much. She knew what her son was capable of. It was good that he could help the villagers. In the evening, when Wang Yao came back from the foot of Nanshan Hill, he found that more people in the village took the initiative to greet him. What's going on? He felt a little strange. He didn't know until later that the villagers knew he had saved the boy. They all said he was a good young man. He was knowledgeable and kind. Some people even tried to find him a girlfriend. When he arrived home, his mother also mentioned this matter. You came to our house? Yes, they came in the afternoon with gift. They said that you saved their son's life, and they came to express their gratitude. Hey, I'm just helping, Wang Yao said. He wanted to help cook dinner, but Zhang Xiuying chased him back into the house. At the end of June, the weather was a little hot, but Wang Yao didn't feel anything. Now that he had succeeded in his cultivation, he was already immune to both heat and cold. Not to mention this little bit of heat, even if it was the hottest dog days, it was nothing. In the evening, Zhang Xiuying received a call and was a little anxious. What's wrong, Mom? Your grandma vomited blood. Zhang Xiuying's words surprised Wang Yao. You were fine, why did you vomit blood? I don't know. I'll go take a look, Wang Yao said. I'll go with you. It was not even 7 o'clock, and the sky was not completely dark yet. Wang Yao drove. In less than 20 minutes, they arrived at his grandma's village. When they entered the house, his grandma was still lying on the Kong bed, gasping for breath. Why are you here? Seeing that they had come, the old woman was obviously surprised. Yao heard that you were sick, so he insisted on coming to see you, Zhang Xiuying said. I didn't dote on my nephew for nothing, his grandma said with a smile. Lie down, I'll take a look at you, Wang Yao said as he checked the old woman's pulse. It's not a big problem. You have inflammation in your lungs. You have a bad cough and there is blood, Wang Yao said. That's good. Zhang Xiuying breathed a sigh of relief. Grandma, Grandpa, you must be tired these days. Yes. They had just finished planting the jade beans. Didn't I tell you not to plant this year? Zhang Xiuying was unhappy. They have already planted the jade beans. It's a pity to leave the land unused. Wang Yao's grandma and grandpa were both in their 50s. They had been busy for most of their lives. At this age, their bodies were already exhausted. Wang Yao's mother had also advised the two elders to focus on the appropriate amount of land. It was enough for them to eat. She did not want to worry about her and her sister's affairs. However, the two elders did not listen. I'll make a prescription tomorrow and send it to you. You'll be fine after resting for 2 more days. Okay. Let me give you a massage to relax your muscles and bones. Wang Yao spent more than an hour massaging the two elders to relax their bodies. It was already 9:30 p.m. when he drove home. Mom, you don't have to worry about my grandma. It's just a common inflammation. I'll go back and make a prescription for her tonight. She'll be fine after taking it a few times, Wang Yao said. Okay, you should rest early. Okay. After going back to Nanshan Hill, Wang Yao selected several herbs to prepare a decoction that could clear away heat and reduce internal heat the next day. The two elders were getting old. Their health was deteriorating year by year. I have to visit them often in the future, Wang Yao thought. When he was a child, he spent a considerable amount of time at his grandma's house. That night, Wang Yao thought about something. He suddenly realized that he seemed to have forgotten some things these days. Or it could be said that he had temporarily put them aside, such as family affection. The next day, the weather was a little stuffy. Although the sun in the sky was not so hot, it was still very hot. It was uncomfortably hot. Wang Yao decocted the decoction on the hill. Hautuinia cordata, buplurum. He selected several herbs, which were mainly used to reduce inflammation and reduce internal heat. I'll add something else. In addition to these herbs, he also added a small portion of glossy ganoderma and a few pieces of ginseng. His grandma's body was not as simple as inflammation. Continuous work coupled with age had damaged the foundation of her body. It's a pity that I don't have enough ingredients now. Otherwise, I should make regather soup for them, Wang Yao said. After so many days, he had only thought of these things. Was he an ungrateful person? Ancient spring water. Multifunctional pot for herbs. Burning fire. The pervasive smell of herbs. It didn't take much effort to decoct the decoction. As his experience in decocting decoctions continued to increase, these common decoctions could almost be described as at his fingertips. It was very easy to decoct them. After the decoction was successfully decocted, he went down the hill and told his family. Then he drove out of the mountain village. First, he went to the town and bought some things, mainly some tonics, for the two elders. When he arrived at his grandma's house, he found only his grandma was lying on the kong, resting. Grandma, where is my grandpa? He went to the hill. It's so hot. Why did he go out on such a hot day? Wang Yao asked. It was very hot outside now. This kind of heat was not a problem for people like Wang Yao who were not affected by cold or heat. However, it was very bad weather for people in their 70s and 80s. If they were not careful, it was very likely that they would have problems outside. He put the gifts away and took out the decoction that he had decocted for the elderly. It was still warm. Grandma, this is the decoction I decocted for you. Try some. Okay. He helped his grandma up and fed her some decoction. After the decoction entered her mouth, although it was warm, she felt a strange cool feeling. Her burning chest felt much better after drinking the decoction. How do you feel, Grandma? Well, I feel much better. That's good. Wang Yao smiled slightly. He added something special to the decoction, a little bit of frost grass. Frost grass hibernates in summer and grows in winter. It clears away heat and relieves heat. It was a licorice root. Another main function of it was to remove yang toxins. For his grandma's current body, she naturally could not take too much of it. He just added a little bit. He chatted with his grandma for a while by the kong. He looked at the clock next to him. It was already morning. He got up and went to the kitchen to cook. I'll go. The old woman got up and said. You can lie here, Wang Yao said. It's not like I can't cook. Wang Yao had bought some cooked food and vegetables before he came. He started a fire in the kitchen. It was not liquefied gas, but an ordinary big pot. It also needed firewood. Wang Yao often used this kind of big pot when he cooked on Nanshan Hill. Although it was a bit troublesome to start a fire to cook, the food he cooked tasted very good. The old woman stood at the door and watched her nephew cook. Her wrinkled face was full of smiles. Chapter 258. It's so hot outside. Why don't you come in and lie down? Okay. At around 11 p.m., Wang Yao had prepared a table full of food. His grandpa also came back from outside with a basket. Grandpa, Yao is here. Wang Yao accompanied his grandpa for lunch and chatted for a while. Grandpa, it's so hot outside. Let's put the work in the field aside, Wang Yao advised. Okay. Wang Yao also knew that even if his grandpa and grandma agreed verbally, they would still work in the field after they got better. After lunch, they rested for a while. Wang Yao gave his grandpa and grandma a massage to relax their muscles and bones. Then, he took out 1,000 yuan from his pocket. Grandpa, you can buy some delicious food with this money. Don't be stingy, Wang Yao said. No need, his grandpa said as soon as he saw him take out the money. It's not much. Just take it. I'll go back first. After leaving the money, Wang Yao left. You can go back. After getting into the car, Wang Yao waved to his grandpa, who was still waiting outside. Drive safe. Okay. Wang Yao drove away. Through the rearview mirror, he saw his grandpa and grandma didn't enter the house. They had been standing by the roadside and looking at his car. The money was just a gesture. He could keep more, 10,000 yuan or 100,000 yuan, but his grandpa wouldn't want it. Come home often. The lyrics were very good. However, those who were working hard in foreign countries now rarely went home except for the holidays. The old people all hoped that their children could come home often. Is your grandma better? His father asked when he saw Wang Yao come back. Yes, she's better. She needs to rest more, Wang Yao said. Mom, when you have time, you should persuade my grandpa and grandma to do the work in the field appropriately. They are already 80 years old. They can't do it. Some words were not suitable for him to say, but his mother could. I've said it before, but they won't listen. Isn't there still your uncle? If your grandma and grandpa don't farm anymore, where will the noodles come from? Where will the oil come from? According to what you said, my uncle can't live a normal life without my grandparents? Wang Yao asked with a smile. They just want to earn more. Your uncle's salary alone is too tiring to support the whole family. Wang Yao smiled and didn't say anything. Every family had their own difficulties, and even their own family members were no exception. In the future, he would take some time to visit the two elders. In the county hospital of Lianshan County. Doctor, do I really not need to stay for 2 more days? There's no need for that. I've already used all the medicine I need. Even if I continue with the treatment, the effect will be the same. It's better to go back and train more. In this department, most of the patients were like this. He had to say similar words almost every day. It couldn't be said that he wasn't attentive or irresponsible. After seeing so much and experiencing so much, his passion had dissipated, and he had become a little numb. Oh, thank you, doctor. He Xiuhua still wanted to ask more, but seeing that the doctor had bowed his head and was busy, she didn't ask more. So, she went upstairs and downstairs a few times to go through the discharge procedures. Fortunately, there was a rural cooperative medical service now, which could reimburse some of the money spent. Let's go. Let's leave the hospital. Her husband still couldn't get up. He could only go out in a wheelchair. She carried a big bag of things by herself. When she was going downstairs, her sister came. Finally, there was someone to help her. After a busy time, she returned to the mountain village with the help of her sister. Home is still the best. After all the things were packed, her sister pulled her to the side. Sister, tell me the truth. How is my brother-in-law's illness? The doctor said that the recovery depends entirely on personal exercise. Xiuhua said. Okay. Her sister sighed after hearing that. Her sister didn't have any good fortune in her life. It was hard to support her son to go to college, but the pillar of the family collapsed. Now it was time for children to go to college. Her life in the future would only be more tiring. You go in and have a seat. I'll cook. Let me help you. On Nanshan Hill, Wang Yao put away the scriptures and went out of the cottage. The medicine was ready. The preparations were almost done. It was time to go to Jing again. In the afternoon, he went down the hill and returned home. Your uncle Fengxiang was discharged this morning, Zhang Xiuying said. He has returned home. Oh, I see. I'll go and have a look tomorrow, Wang Yao said. He already knew about Wang Fengxiang's illness when he was in the hospital. He also had the idea of treatment. However, at that time, some things couldn't be done in the hospital. Since Wang Fengxiang was discharged this time, he could give it a try. On this day, many people went to Wang Fengxiang's home. Wang Fengxiang and his wife were good people in the village. Seeing that they were back, the neighbors naturally went to see them. After dinner, Wang Yao went up Nanshan Hill. He walked around the herbal field and stopped in front of a licorice root. It was a grass with stars on its leaves like rain. Purple rain promoted blood circulation, relieved depression, and cleared meridians. He didn't even need to use the blood deblinking powder for such a thrombosis. A leaf of purple rain will probably have an effect, Wang Yao whispered to himself. That night, Xiuhua thought a lot. Her husband had this disease. It was still a problem whether he could recover. According to the news she got from talking with the family members of several patients in the same room and the doctor's statement, it was good enough that he could stand up and take care of himself. It was impossible for him to return to his previous state. Her son was still in college. It was the time to spend money. How would she live in the future? Wang Fengxiang didn't sleep either. He was sick. The right side of his body couldn't move, but his mind was still clear. This disease came too suddenly and knocked him down. He also knew about this disease. There were a few old people in the village who had this disease. Every day they walked around the village with crutches and dragged their legs. He didn't expect that this disease would fall on him. He couldn't stand up and couldn't move his arms. He became a cripple. What would happen to his family in the future? What would happen to his children who were still in school? Getting married, buying a house, and having children. When he was in the hospital, he had been thinking about these things. The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't sleep at night. Sigh. People shouldn't be sick even if they don't have money. The next day, the sun rose very early. A leaf of grass. A pot of water. Yuan Hu, Qianghua, Ganoderma lucidum. Wang Yao chose a few herbs that could promote blood circulation and some herbs that could regulate the body. He slowly boiled it over a small fire. When the fire was almost ready, he finally added the purple rain leaf. As soon as the licorice roots were added, they dissolved and disappeared. The medicinal soup also changed color. It was a light green with a hint of light purple. A unique fragrance also floated out. The medicine was done. Wang Yao put the medicine into a porcelain bottle prepared in advance and went down the mountain. He first went home and told his family. Then, he took some things from home and went out. The distance between the two houses was only a few steps away from the front and back of the house. Auntie. When he entered the house, Xiuhua was picking vegetables. Seeing Wang Yao come, she hurriedly got up and greeted him. Yao is here. Come in and have a seat. I came to see Uncle. Okay. He Xiuhua invited him into the house and poured water for him. Wang Yao looked at Wang Fengxiang, who was lying on the kong. Wang Fengxiang didn't look good, but that was secondary. The key was his eyes. There was no light in his eyes. It was partly because of his illness and partly because of his emotions. Uncle. Okay. Wang Fengxiang responded weakly. Let me take a look. Wang Yao reached out to feel his pulse. The situation of the elder in front of him was similar to the last time he was in the hospital. There was a certain improvement, but it was not cured. I have medicine here. You can try it. Wang Yao took out a white porcelain bottle and put it on the table. He then explained how to use it. After staying for a while, he left. Medicine? He Xiuhua looked at the bottle on the table and was stunned. In addition to visiting her husband, this young junior came to deliver medicine. The key was, did she dare to use the medicine? She thought for a while. Use it. Wang Fengxiang, who was lying on the bed, said. Now, no one could understand his thoughts. As long as there was a little hope, he wanted to try it even if it was a big risk. Okay, use it, he Xiuhua said. In the beginning, she didn't dare to give her husband the amount as Wang Yao said. She reduced the amount. Why don't you try drinking less? When the medicine entered the mouth, there was a unique medicinal fragrance. It was not particularly unpleasant. On the contrary, it smelled quite comfortable. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.